welcome to Smite Prime on the Smite Game Stream, the only place where the plays are always premium. Week 2, August Circuit coming at you. Who's bringing you the action? D-Lo on the mic, joined here by my friend Musicland in the booth. We got, of course, Tess and Morty, our almighty eyes in the sky. Jithins and basically Billy, your men behind that curtain. Musy, how we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited. I'm ready to jump into week 2 here in the circuit, especially after we had a pretty exciting week 1. Some of the things that I noticed from last week was that we had, the Sun Prod team. We didn't even get a chance to see them on the big screen. So I'm kind of curious to see how that pans out this week because they were so strong last time.
Well, they were the ones who claimed that big top prize. And speaking of, let's take a look at what we got at stake this go around in the August circuit. Quite a bit is the answer. You got cash prizing, of course, all $7,000 up for the claim, $125K in diamond prizing as well. These cool skins keep on dropping. You got the Geb 1 Traveler's Pass, and you got that soft, amazing plushie Ganesha too. Buy yours today and 125,000 gems. That could certainly help.
The Ganesha skin is so, you could just give it a big old hug. And I feel like if there ever were a Smite skin that could give you the best hug, it's got to be Ganesha. Fluffy Ganesha.
I don't know,
or
man.
just
Kali's
base
got 4
Fenrir.
arms.
Oh, that's a good point. Can we get a hug tier list for the gods at some point, like for every character in the game? Like, how strong of a hug can they give?
How good? Not just strong, because there's certain levels. You want strength,
like the quality of the hug.
Yes,
course.
exactly.
Yeah,
you want comfort in that as well. Brackets coming up here. Not going to rate how well these teams hug, sadly, but you got fighters, not lovers, on the battlefield today. And you mentioned that we did not get to see our friends Sunprod and Globe, who are battling on the Father, the Son, and the Holy Globst. Their names are always hilarious. But this time around, that shall change. We get a first look at them as they step up against those wild card Wonder Kids. But looking across the battlefield here, Musy, any other teams we should keep our eyes on?
Oh my gosh, twitch.tv/Crazy Kieran was here. I'm assuming that's what the rest of the name is. That's really cool to see Kieran up there on the Smite Prime brackets. I'm curious to see how well they're going to be able to do against Clocked In, #1 seeded team. They're going to have quite the fight ahead of them. That'll be tough. And then, of course, you have Joe Biden Esports making their big return. That's crazy. Yummers is back. Let's see who else is popping out to me. Melania is not as strong as pre-nerf consort Radon. That's, you know what, pre-nerf consort Radon was kind of a baller fight, so I can kind of get behind that team name. And then Wildcard Wonder Kids, shout outs. I love the names.
They're so creative. Everyone's stepping up with some wacky, some serious, It's always a good mix of everything here in the Smite Prime bracket. But like we said, we're going to be stepping up to that bottom one to start things off. The team that I also want to look at, Wildcard Wonder Kids and Yummers. Those are the two that I think have some good dark horse potential. Anyone you see above them has kind of already proven themselves as a pretty big threat. Smite 2 Bad Boys, I will say as well. They're the team that I feel like has always been a bridesmaid, never a bride. So quite a lot to fight for here. And Clocked In and Cherry Slush, the #1 and 2, they're certainly the teams to beat. We've seen them be dominant throughout this entire bracket, and hopefully we can get a bit of a new storyline weaving its way through the narrative as we continue on through our day here. Worth noting as well, all these rounds start off as best of ones. That finals, though, that's where you get a bit more high stakes. That's where you get that best of 3.
And it'll be curious. It's always funny because you have back-to-back-to-back best of ones. You got to bring your A game right out the gate. Like, yes. You cannot stop. True. You cannot hesitate. You just have to go for it. So I really enjoy the concept of best of ones where you're really just trying to sucker punch the enemy, right? There are two main strategies. Sucker punch them and win at like minute 17, or drag it out to the 40-minute mark and hope that your team fight is better than theirs.
That's a really good point. The fact that, not everyone's waking up at the exact same time zone. For us here on the East Coast, for me, it's 12 o'clock right now, but some people might have a few hours earlier. Some might be a few hours later. And maybe you're still rubbing the sleep from your eyes, right? You didn't brush your teeth just yet. You're not feeling all fresh and fit and ready for the game. All of a sudden, your bracket runs over. You really need to make sure that you are warmed up from the get-go. And what better time to be all warmed up than the August summer bracket? So hopefully everyone is feeling good behind the sticks and on the keys, and we'll be hopping in shortly to see if that's indeed the case, are those P's and B's. Now, we've been talking last week as we take a look at this matchup once again. It's the Wonder Kids up against the Holy Globst. Sunprod's team has lost a pretty pivotal player. They've lost Speak No Evil, who is now on the number 1 seed on Clocked In. In terms of the role the support's going to play in this game as we hop into P's and B's, what do you think is generally, in this meta, the support's value to the team?
Honestly, a support can make or break our team. Like, we can talk all day about like, oh yeah, poverty role ADC or solo lane is where all the fun is right now. But fundamentally, when it comes to Comp Smite, I feel like if your support isn't there to coordinate, to make calls, to set up for your damage carries, like if they're off even a little bit, they just get feasted upon. Like, they're going to be the number 1 target that just gets blown up every single team fight. They're going to be the one that's going to feel the fact that they cannot farm like everybody else can. They're going to be down 2, 3, 4 levels, and all of a sudden, you're out of the game, right? So it really does come down to how well can you mesh with your support? How hard can your support, not even lying, carry you? Because that's what they're there for. They are the big, strong back, the big shoulders, the foundation of that team. So if it's not, if there are cracks in that foundation, you're going to crumble.
Especially considering the fact that we're in tank meta right now, baby. It's still the case. Sanguine Lash, Mystical Mail, all of a sudden you're top damage and top sustain from your own lifesteal. We are seeing, in fact, quite a lot of frontline be banned away, but also some backliners too. What you're left alone, though, is that Odin instead. We've oftentimes seen that be one of the first bans, so to let that go to the Wonder Kids, a bit frightening.
There are some picks still available here, though, for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Globe. So it'll be the only time I say the full name. But like Agni is a solid pickup. You can even look at something like a Neath if Globe wanted to pick that up in the mid lane. Again, another character that is just so ridiculously strong. Ooh. But even though we don't have Speak No Evil here, their spirit remains. You want to talk about strong supports, D'Lo, it's got to be Ares.
Absolutely. And pairing it with an Agni, I think, is really solid. Gives you flex potential. We don't know if this is a completed duo, or potentially could be walking to that mid. It's still quite potent, but we oftentimes, I feel like, see it more using that aspect. Other side here, you've banned away a lot of the good carries, honestly. On her is still available. I do see Bari, but I'm not going to lie. I've now seen a good amount of picks where the Bari either pops off or it's a bait pick because you just get so dominated in the early game, you never really get to see her even find her stride. Aphrodite is instead going to be the call. The anti-heal's on your side of the fence, so why not add a bit of extra sustain on top?
Well, and Odin already does so well inside that Aphrodite, so being able to first pick the Odin basically guarantees that you get to follow it up with that Aphro pick. And then you also get to slot in the Merlin there as well. So already seeing who is all locked in, I feel like it's an Aphrodite support just because she offers a lot of sustain in that dual lane, a lot of safety, and you have pretty solid engage just by, jump in Odin cage.
Going to be the Neath and Thor locked in alongside with the Merlin from the Wonder Kids. I think they're recognizing that most of the carries have been taken off the board, and also the fact that they're kind of calling out, they're saying Agni's carry, so they're not going to pick anything else that could operate in that role, so we'll just wait to save that for the end. I don't mind that one bit. This Thor could go jungle, could go solo. Where do you want to see it?
Honestly, I want to see Thor in the jungle, just because there are a lot of other options we can have in that solo lane, but also recently it's been kind of a toss-up of like, do we want 2 frontliners or 1 solo frontline and then like a semi-tank, something like that in the solo lane? I want to see 2 frontliners and a Thor that can dive onto the backline would be my best guess for Globst.
Also gives you a ton of great global pressure between the Neath and that Anvil of Dawn. Artemis and Hercules, though, wasn't on Smite Prime, but it wasn't the Smite game stream. There was a recent AGL finals that showed just how unkillable this god can be when piloted by the right player. If you let them bully you out for the entire laning phase and no one tries to go there to upset some of that pressure, it becomes monumentally demoralized. And that being said, with an Odin alongside it, there is a bit of debate in terms of which roles those guys operate as well.
So I almost wonder if NMR is going to be taking the Herc to the jungle, just because they do have a pretty significant early game, especially in the jungle where you can just walk up, driving strike somebody, and you're like, oh, that's a quarter of my health bar gone. I got to figure out what to do about that now. And because Hercules can do a lot of damage while still building like a hybrid tank jungle build, you can run around on the map and be fine. Just build one Heartward Charm, and then suddenly you can't die. Double pop, mitigate wounds, you're just full healing. And, you know, Globes only has, you know, an Agni for your anti-heal, so you have to be really careful about that.
Other side, Loki's going to be the pickup there from the Father, Son, the Holy Glow. So not quite what you were expecting, not quite what you were wanting. And we talked about this Loki before when we saw it operated by Scream in terms of how well does it fit within the team. It worked then. Does it work now?
So my eyes have been opened fairly recently to what a Loki is capable of. And what I really like about this Loki pick, you know, I was initially like, oh, we want some frontline, but a Thor who's tank, he can kind of be that non-committal CC with the wall. He can hang out there with the Ares. This Loki can just isolate somebody and kill them. But also you have this Loki-Neith combination that makes it so that you just can never live.
We're going to have to find out if they can keep on surviving and keep on thriving. As we hop into game here, game one of the best of one. So all your chances right on this to advance in the bracket. The Wonder Kids might not be able to ever grow up, and the Holy Ghost might be made into Phantoms once more. Taking a look at these compositions, one thing we didn't really get to mention in terms of what this Ares provides, CC Immune Ultimates, Wildcard Wonder Kids have a couple, and they also have that Afro Get Out of Jail Free card.
You do have 4 beads and a sunder, which seems to be like the classic relic pickups these days. Very safe combination. Make sure that everybody can, you know, keep themselves alive and okay, especially in the face of, you know, the Ares ultimate, that no escape, the Thor, the Loki, everybody from, you know, Holy Globes is just able to kind of shred that out. But it is going to be the Hercules over in the solo lane, and then NMR rocking the Odin in the jungle. I also like this too. I like it for different reasons, because instead of having this Hercules walk around and kind of big swing it over on the map, you have this cage that is just, you know, 2-day delivery on demand for you. You can kind of have it wherever you like, and think about who all gets trapped inside the cage. Dual lane especially is very vulnerable, and there's no shell between Bop Bop or Kai Vega. So I would expect that NMR is going to make their trip, their pilgrimage over towards that dual lane. And then because you have this Hercules over in the solo lane, he just gets to live forever. He still does damage. He scales incredibly well into the late game in this meta, because he just becomes that Hercules that you're very familiar with in Smite 1, where you're like, cool, I'm level 20, my items are online, I'm going to run at you, good luck. Like, that's just kind of how it goes.
The fact that you have that shell underneath is certainly interesting, given the fact that she's got an escape. She has that
backflip.
The Agni is not in the same position, so definitely keep a lookout for an early gank on this dual lane side, which is where you want the pressure typically in this meta to ensure that first Gold Fury can go your way. Bit of poke being dealed out here as well in the left lane. King Bop Bop answers the pressure back with some chains of their own and will stay safe. Worth noting, this Artemis too, on the other side of the spectrum, Wildcard Wonder Kids have great counter engage with that Caledonian Boar, so even if the Thor dives on top of you, you're not really sweating it too hard. Same with the Loki.
I mean, you have the Caledonian Boar, you have the Undying Love from Aphrodite. Like, this dual lane is very hard to pin down and very hard to kill.
Uh-oh, snap.
Holy Globes is going to have to, like, pull a lot of resources here. NMR moves around the left side, but no cage yet.
But they still got damage to boot, and their own body can be used as a blocking wall, and it might just succeed. Kill Cam Kenny puts King Bop Bop on the camera for the audience to see. First blood goes to the Wonder Kids.
And while this Ares is so powerful, while it's so aggressive, what it lacks is mobility. So Bop Bop and Kaveka have to stay super, super careful. Very hyper aware of their positioning. Kaveka, slightly less of an extent, just because they've got that crazy Agni dash. They can throw the smog on top of it, but Bop Bop has no such privileges when it comes to making their grand escape. Holy Globes is a team that's looking to engage, looking to start fights, looking to get in there. They don't have great answers when they get engaged upon, when they're the ones who get jumped on. So they have to stay aware. You need wards, you need positioning. You have to keep your eyes open.
And it's, again, kind of an immediate response to the statement we were making of, has losing the pivotal support, Speak No Evil, cost the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost all of their mojo. a lot of pressure is riding on the Ares, not just as one of the first picks they got, because this pick requires near peerless play, but also on the player itself. King Bop Bop, can you fill those big shoes that Speak No Evil left you? Gotta hope it's the case, but what's also sad is that you had a gank come out from Father Son on that Hercules, and they just already, even without an ultimate, even without all those items, they still seem unkillable.
It's very scary to run into. You have to try to keep your mentals in check. I also feel like we have Vi in the mid lane instead of Globe, right? So you're missing a couple of the pillars that you were kind of relying on before. But we do have the big hitter, the big swinger, the absolute menace that is Sunprod still here for Holy Globes. So I feel like that is enough. That is enough star power. That's enough fear factor. And they're rocking this Loki. I feel like if Holy Globes just kind of hangs out for a bit, waits for their power spikes, makes sure that their dual lane hits level 5, and then gets that engage going. We pull No Escape, try to get bored, try to get Undying Love. That opens up an opportunity for Sunprod. It looks like that's what they want to set up now.
Level 5 is secured by Killcam Kenny, so they will have that get a jail free card for both himself as well as his partner in crime. And that means they're just going to cede that pressure on the mid buff. No harm done. I'm curious about the link between the mid and the right lane. Thor is going to have this ultimate available. Wow, great steal of the Flame Brands there. And also you have the World Weaver from the Neath. So do you want to see this Thor rotate out early, considering that Hercules, you're just not going to be able to win that lane? Or do you want to see them try to maintain farming pressure nonetheless against Snatty?
So once Gold Fury spawns like it has at this point, you do have, like you said, that global pressure to be able to threaten somebody out. Or you could just get caught in a cage, backflip over.
Ooh, great Spirit Arrow, though. Might actually cost NMR as the Loki ult comes on through. Blizzard gonna weather that storm. Sunprod just slashes right through NMR and answers back with a kill of their own.
So good stuff underneath the tower, though.
Oh, very close. Briz nearly takes him down. Vi proving that, hey, even if Globe's not here, I still am worthy of respect. And that pressure alone is going to grant a chance for this first objective. Can't see rotation from anyone except for Killcam Kenny. Does have Sunder in pocket, so there is a chance, but they're deciding to buy their time. Inferno will step up. Another great Spirit Arrow. The Lovebirds in response. Can they find the secure? King Bop Bop makes sure to stand on all 10 toes, grabs the objective, and also grabs the Afro with the ultimate. Unfortunately, no follow-up. NMR instead says, I'll take it from here, and Bop's King Bop Bop right back to base. Fight still continuing as the Odin decides to leap on in. No cage available quite just yet, but the damage is still something to fear. Pops the shield. Vi pops Killcam Kenny in the skull. Like a trap, not good enough though. Inferno will fall as well. Briz with a flick of their wrist sends the Neath packing. Overall, it's quite a crazy fight. At the very least, though, Chaos grabbed the objective.
They get that Gold Fury, and they're able to walk away with a few more kills than deaths. Meanwhile, solo lane, slap each other. Rowing?
I don't think that ends well for you.
I don't, yeah, that kind of, well, you always get a little bit baited. You're like, oh, low health bars?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this could be it. And then you're like, wait, that's a Hercules, and that's a Thor with...
Wait, I'm in their tower now.
What? Striders. Like, oh, whoops, never mind. nothing happens here, but that fight around the Gold Fury, you want to talk about, can King Bop Bop fill Speak No Evil's shoes? I feel like the answer is, so far, so good, because Bop Bop understands something from the support side that, you know, not everybody quite clicks with, and that's die. Just die. Die to get kills. And Bop Bop just runs after Wildcard Wonder Kids and says, all right, cool. Hey, whenever you guys want to go in, you can. That puts pressure on top of Killcam Kenny. That makes it so that Aphrodite has to take steps back. They can't be up there with their damage to offer things like healing and stuns out and everything like that. So because Bop Bop just gets in their face, that opens up opportunities too for Sunprod to be able to make their rotation back. That was a full health Loki bar that showed up at the end. And kind of bait Wildcard Wonder Kids in a little bit. Yeah, Vi steps up a little bit too hard, ends up dying in order to kill Killcam Kenny, but overall, you're still feeling pretty good about the whole exchange.
Yeah, getting the objective feels great 8 minutes in. 2K up ahead for Gloast. they can keep up that pressure, it's going to be really solid in the late game as well, since they have a fantastic team fight formula for success. Worth noting as well, thanks to those backs, we got our first 2 big support active items. We talked about just how important those roles are. Unfortunately, that ultimate not going to prove too important in taking down Briz, but look at what you see. It's a Stampede for the Ares and a Talisman for that Afro.
And both of these items do kind of exacerbate how these gods want to play. Ares, King Bop Bop wants to stampede in, get the no escape. Everybody from Holy Globes wants to run in and get a fight going. Whereas Wildcard Wonder Kids with that Talisman of Purification is a direct response to that Ares. As Odin makes the rotation over, rowing ults away, classic Thor, global getaway car, as they don't have to stress out about that. But what I feel like we're going to start seeing is how well can Wildcard Wonder Kids deal with just the amount of raw aggression that's in their comp and the follow-up damage too.
Vi dealing with certainly quite a bit. Able to backflip back to safety. The supports have decided to rotate out. So now the Artemis and the Agni left to their own devices. Anything we should expect there in terms of 1v1 potential?
So Agni can poke out this Artemis pretty effectively. You've got the Rain Fire, you've got Flame Wave, and the Suns too. But beyond that, it's very hard to dash at Inferno. It's very hard to close the distance against a character like Artemis because they've got Caledonian Boar, and also she's got all those traps that she's able to put out. I feel like both of these players, between Inferno and Kaveka, are just going to be farming out their lanes. They're not looking for anything too crazy, unless, of course, they need to start putting pressure on for when Gold Fury spawns. That's right around the corner. Or if they need to feign weakness so that they can try to bait forward their opponent to set up for their jungler.
The jungle is where I think Wonder Kids really have their fight initiation. That cage is going to be incredibly important. But NMR is lagging a bit behind. Sunprod, taking a note from their former opponent Scream's book, is doing a really great job just farming, playing that macro game and ensuring that those assassinates are assassinating. And you can see them present, hip-hopping in tow with their friend King Bop Bop. When everyone's present, though, and the Loki loses the element of surprise, definitely leaves a bit more to be desired. So it's going to be up to that Ares to step up first, or that cage.
Both teams really want to get a beat on these oracles. Those are going to be spawning soon. It looks like King Bop Bop gets caught out.
Not how you want to be using that no escape. An instant talisman in response, using their stampede just to ring around the Rosie. But can the animal escape the petting zoo? Seems like they did. Just a bit of aggressive padding. And a great backflip there. Roots 2 in place. The damage being output here by Vi cannot be underestimated.
Not being able to kill King Bop Bop there is kind of scary. John Rowing makes the rotation over. And it looks like, Holy Globes aren't quite sure how they want to handle this situation. You have to be careful. Gold Fury is right around the corner. It's on the line. But Thor and Loki still have their ultimates in back pockets, so Wonder Kids need to stay aware.
Just trying to add a bit more poke on NMR. Sunprod recognizing how pivotal that Odin is to their game plan. Having that cage down is nice, but you got to imagine the next fight. You want to make sure to get it done before it comes back up, and indeed that's the call. Ghost begins to pull it down. Naga is there to assist. It's already dropped down to very low. But here comes the Odin. King Bop Bop secures it once more. Excellent work by the support, but how do you do in the fight right after? King Bop Bop being body blocked down. Sometimes you recognize you just got to die. Will that be the case? Snatty ensures so with one last driving strike that supports the sacrifice for the objective.
Bop Bop, again, is okay with dying there. Because think about what you got for it. Gold Fury. But what else did you get? What was used there? Inferno ulted an Ares who was all by themselves that was almost guaranteed to die there. So that opens up this Artemis to be ganked in the next, until that cooldown comes up. You just have to pull those beads first. So Sunprod has an avenue to maybe take a look at that. But now this also means that Killcam Kenny has to stay aware because you have to hang out next to your dual lane. No Caledonian Boar means that this Artemis is very easily jumped upon. It's these small moments, these small exchanges that can really start to add up quickly, where Bop Bop is going to start noticing, cool, I can throw myself at them and they'll panic. I got solo caged not too long ago. I'm getting solo Artemis ulted. My team is insane. Sunprod not having to worry about a boar? Hello? You need that for the Loki. You're not going to have it for a bit. And if Inferno is willing to just let those rip, it means that Holy Globes can absolutely capitalize.
Yeah, it's two different styles. We asked the question earlier, can King Bop Bop fill those shoes? And I think the answer is yes, and in a different way. Speak No Evil oftentimes would rock a very fearsome slash line of their own right, But King Bop says, I'm here to play for the team. I'm looking not to get my own individual accolades. I'm here to make sure that all my homies are eating. And so far, they're eating pretty well. Now up to about a 4,000 gold lead, 13 minutes in the game. Doesn't matter if Wonder Kids are a kill up. You can keep that nonsense. I'm looking at the whole enchilada.
They got those 2 gold furies, which is why they have so much extra gold. Their macro play has been on it. And with the fire giants spawning around the corner, we got a couple minutes for that. It's probably going to be another pyromancer play where the gold fury respawns, but you know that Holy Globes wants to take a look at those bigger objectives so they can just keep lining their pockets. And if they can bait wildcard wonders in to a fight around it, that's how they're going to go for it. Or Wonder Kids are just going to look for the engage on a back camp.
The Naga potentially drop down to half, but the fight's the real focus right now.
Door in the air.
The chains. Door in the sky, but do you want to re-enter? Indeed, decides to descend upon the Afro. It's the response with the ultimate. TP's in aggressively. We're really trying to put Kenny on the kill cam. The no escape. Gonna force the solo talisman. That does not feel good, but being alive certainly would be a just reward. It does seem to be the case. Now, we can just turn our attentions to the objective. This is what Ghost loves to do. They poke, no kills, that's okay. Pyromancer might be next up on the board. Does seem though they're deciding for a full disengage because Snatty is here.
I mean, you did pull a fair amount of resources there away from Wonder Kids, so you have some time to recoup your own lives, try to reset the balance for yourselves, and then look for a re-engage maybe around that Pyromancer again, or just go back to farming. You look at what's up on the map. You got back camps you have to do, waves that you have to accomplish, a Queen Naga that's still here. It's a lot safer. So Holy Globes is going to opt for that instead of trying to go for the risky play, which I do very much appreciate. There's a time for aggression and there's a time to take the easy things in life. This is one of those times. Take the easy things. Or Sun Prod, take a bite out of
behind you.
Yeah,
Dude just standing by him. You sending him an Xbox Live message, look behind you. Might cost you now though, buddy, as you're in quite a bit of trouble. The assassinate will get them to safety. Now it's NMR instead. Chained up, flamed down. King Bop graces the kill board for the first time.
And what is an Oda going to do when they're crippled like that? Absolutely nothing. This Ares does so much work. There's a reason why Ares is such a highly contested pick and usually banned out, but managed to slip through the cracks this game, which I feel like you could say that for a couple of these picks on here. We mentioned back in picks and bans how the Odin was always prioritized. Now it's in the game. The Ares is in the game. The Neith is here. The Agni's here. Like, there's a lot of power on the field, but Holy Globes is definitely using it to their advantage because they are just keeping their foot on the gas pedal, always looking for fights. Goldfear respawns, they're immediately on it.
Kill Cam Kenny a bit poked out. Worth noting they didn't use their ultimate to save NMR last time, so at the very least you have it available now to try to keep Inferno alive. Sunders are on board for both of the support players. Can you stop Kill Cam Kenny from getting their get back? A good no escape answers yes, because you don't have the tally. Boulder rolls on through objective. Still up and claimed for Ghost once more. King Bop is peerless with these secures, but can you secure the lives of your team? King Bop dropping awfully low, and Vil of Dawn in the backline for the Merlin. Inferno will take the Ares head, and the cage comes down. Only going to be able to keep in, though, the one member who's able to escape, that being the Thor. Quick TP back to safety. And Ghost, once again, happy to sacrifice their support if it means the objective. King Bop is doing an amazing show of altruism.
And even though King Bop has been dying so frequently, Kill Cam Kenny only just reached level 12 while Bop was already there. So they're up in farm, they're able to secure objectives that they need to. You're fine. You're just like, cool, I got it. Now I'm gonna try to fight people. Do we kill them? No? That's fine, team. It's whatever. Once the fight really gets underway, Wildcard Wonder Kids do have crazy AoE damage, so Ghost has to stay careful, make sure that you're not stacking on top of each other. Whereas Ghost kind of makes their game plan is isolate somebody with Loki or Neith and
can't back there, buddy. Paying a visit to your dad, normally nice, but not when it's with 2 blades in hand. Inferno can't find the last auto either. This man is sneaky. Sun Prod in tandem with Kaiveka find 2 more kills for the board.
They've got a fully stacked Transcendence, the Hydras and the Crusher all online, so this poke from Loki is very strong. You can just throw out that little decoy or just full collapse on top of somebody and take them out of the game. And because you also have Kaiveka with this Agni, it's easy stuns, it's easy damage. They've got everything that they could want and desire. So again, immobile characters that are on Wildcard Wonder Kids between Artemis, between Hercules, kind of like, it's tough. You get caught out really easily, and the Ares is here to make sure that nobody else can get away either. Kind of like Snatty.
Well, the wall's a bit off the mark. Might actually be what allows them to escape. Wind Sprite ensures it. Now all 5 members back up on the Wonder Kids. This Fire Giant's a bit less easy to secure. Inferno walking on up, but can they meander quickly enough? You can tell that Glow's keeping an eye on the enemy team. They really just want the fight. They're looking for Kill Cam Kenny first. Already poked down low. The Noxious Fumes, though, don't find the stun, and the bomb's going to elicit that ultimate, so the chain will no longer matter. It falls off. Pyromancer might just have to be the consolation prize, and even then, that's not guaranteed. Snatty is here on the scene. Has a big fat rock in their pocket to try to show you. Good wall, though. Blocks their attempted escape on the right side. You see the Thor starts to ascend to the sky, and Vi is awfully low. Might be the first target established, but instead decides to go where the fray is thickest. Instantly forces out the talisman from the enemy. Inferno forces King Bop Bop into the grave, but supportal combat ends with the Afro dead too. Briz will fall by Vi's hand, and John Rowing's got nowhere to go. Sun Prod takes down Inferno as well. It's a driving strike to safety, but there might just not be any beneath that tier 2. It's a 2 for 3 overall. Ghost get the better hand.
It looks like Ghost can still take a look at that Pyromancer because they have, Kaveka and Vi and Prod all up. All the damage carries they need to be able to take down that objective. That Thorold was kind of insane from John Rowing, by the way. Like, it was the stars aligned. He had like 3 people there and forces the Talisman of Purification and then had a crazy wall. A fight that was initially looking like it was going to go the way of Wildcard Wonder Kids gets turned on their head off of a play like that. And now, Holy Ghost, who was already in control of the game in terms of their macro, is really starting to pull ahead with their team fights as well. It's no longer about sacrificing King Bop Bop for the greater good. Now, it's about, go in my damage carries, go in my frontline tanks. We're going to go ahead and kill them all. And Sunprod has not been touched this whole game. This Loki hasn't even been focused out or acknowledged too much. It feels like Sunprod can just do whatever they feel like doing.
20 minutes in with that Pyromancer in pocket. 8,000 gold lead, but this might be the first chance for the Wonder Kids to start the ball rolling in their favor. An Ancient Fury would be nice to weaken all those tier 1s that still stay standing, but here comes the Ares. King Bop Bop secures it, finds the steal. You will have nothing at my last supper. Take my life, I don't even care. Thor's in the back line looking for Kill Cam Kenny and responds. An amazing stun right after. Inferno meets the same fate. Snatty's got to hold their breath, sneak right between and squeeze inside of that wall and the pit. And now they're just being slashed into bits by that Loki. Some decent poking. Another great wall comes out from the Thor. They just have to watch from the other side as Snatty is torn apart. But luckily, got plenty of tank to spank with. Snatty stays alive. It's a 2 for 1 trade and an amazing steal by the Ares.
I mean, King Bop Bop, that's King Bop Bop's Gold Fury. You can't have it. That's not yours. You're
what
not
the heck, man?
Like, he took the Wind Sprite in with the Sunder in pocket and just said, yoink. Mine. I'll have that. Thank you. It's like,
wow.
The video of the guy on the bike where it's they're waiting at the drive-thru and this dude just like takes the food right as the server hands it out the window.
Dude, look at the Sunder timers. They're the same. They're literally the same.
Just barely beat it out. That's crazy. I wonder if Kenny's was just a tad too early. Bop Bop just had the timing there. That's so strong from Glow.
Frame perfect Sunder.
Shout outs. That's a mental, not a mental boom, but like a mental bloom, right? Because they are just on it right now. That's going to feel good for your team. That's going to make you more aggressive. You're going to play better because you feel better. Whereas if you're Wildcard Wonders, that was your objective to get back in. That was supposed to be free for them because Holy Ghost was resetting after their Pyromancer, and you had 5 to go burn it down. You didn't have the damage. You didn't even have the secure. And then you lost the fight.
Yeah.
It's time to go back to the drawing board. It's time to think about how you are going to win these fights. And because they're so oriented around a counter engage, they're at the behest of Holy Ghost to win fights. They are relying on Ghost to make a mistake in order to capitalize off of it. Because NMR can just walk up and start out with the Odin cage. But even with Neith being the one to hold on to the shell, the Agni, the Ares, the Loki, none of them have been caught up in that cage. They haven't had to fight for their lives for it. So you really have to find a new way to try to control the fight, because clearly whatever we're doing is not working.
Killcam Kenny's up against the wildcard Sunder kids here. There's just nothing you can do with King Bop Bop sets their sights on an objective, and Pyromancer might be the same story. Left side, they know that Sun Prod is taking down this tier 1, weakened by that Ancient Fury, so at the very least you don't have to worry about that Loki yet, but with that movement speed buff, they kind of arrived at the scene quite quickly, and Snatty's still got a TP back up. Pyromancer, though, has not been started. You can tell that Ghost are looking for a fight, and you can tell that Wonder Kids are not sure if they want to take it.
They're definitely stancing around trying to figure out, like, well, how do we get in a fight? NMR's got the cage. Snatty hasn't died yet. Nigh unkillable Hercules. We talked about that. Regrowth Striders, Talisman, Spirit Robe. Like, he could get in there and live for quite a while. So while you have Snatty causing, havoc and ruckus in the backline, maybe that's the time for NMR to jump in there with the cage. You have giant AoE damage from Briz. All of these players are incredibly capable. You just have to find that moment. You have to cage the right people. You have to pluck the right targets. I'll tell you right now, it's not King Bop Bop. You don't want to step to him.
Chains apply to the Merlin and Hercules both. NMR, in the 1v1, you are not going to win up against your Sun. You've been usurped. In fact, the other Sun comes crashing down. Doesn't fight any targets, but does find decent CC. Forces a Talisman just with the wall alone. And Snatty driving strikes stage right back to safety. That's all you need to do. Bait and punish. There's 2 talismans worth noting on the side of Wonder Kids. Now Snatty has one too, but can that save you when you're 3 levels behind? We'll find out as they step up to that Pyromancer. A good stun might come a bit too early. Snatty looks for the secure. Can they find it? Indeed, the first objective finally goes to the Wonder Kids, but now the death might happen soon after. An amazing no escape, pulls back in two. Should have clutched your pearls harder, Snatty. They're the first one to fall. The cage gonna be King Bop Bop's own end. Inferno takes their head, but Sunprod lurking for a bit more. The double duo of these two brothers gonna each find a kill apiece, and Briz, you're not safe either. You've been assassinated. A Neathult just on top for added panache, a triple kill for Sunprod, and a near deicide for Ghost.
It is exactly how you said there, D'Lo, where Ghost is looking to peel away those Talisman of Purifications, and then literally right after you said it, that's exactly what happened, right? Because you had a fat ult coming out from King Bop Bop that pulls in two. Even though we're brawling in the cage, Bop Bop again is the only one to die. Look at those slash lines, D'Lo.
Oh my god, you're right.
7 deaths. King Bop Bop isn't dying because they're bad at the game or anything like that, because it's a support diff or anything. King Bop Bop is dying so that nobody else has to. He puts the team on his shoulders, the foundation for Holy Ghost. There are no cracks here, baby. Whatever you thought was there last week has been flex sealed and just completely painted over, brand new. Fire Giant confirmed for Holy Ghost. Ancient Gold Fury looking very tasty on the horizon. This team is full tilt in.
Yeah, Snatty walks up, steals that pyro, and then they say, that's a lot of damage. They just dump all their kits on top of them. This is support masterclass, and it's exactly what you should hope for if you're going to top lock this Ares. Meanwhile, NMR, the top lock for Wildcard Wonder Kids, not playing the Odin poorly, but is it a lack of follow-up? Is it the wrong targets? Why are these cages just not caging properly?
I feel like we are not caging the people who don't have Shell. And there's only one player with Shell, that's Vi on the Neath, who doesn't need it? Like, you wouldn't think so. Uh-oh. NMR, jump over the wall.
Not looking good.
You're
dead. Assassinate to respond. You're done. Sunprod, quite literally the son of the Allfather, just keeps on sunning their own Patriarch. It's destructive. Snatty gonna try to do some destruction of their own. Bit of demolition on this tier 2. I don't think you're gonna get this. Sunprod's coming for you next.
He's walking.
We're back, baby. Up in the sky goes the Thor. Left side, Phoenix already down. And it does seem like we teleported into the near future. Just wanted to skip to the real fight and fury. NMR back alive with rage and a spear in hand, but Killcam Kenny's corpse gonna be occupying you instead. Titan already brought down to half health, but tier 2s are still up. in the mid and right side does mean it's a bit more tanky than you might want to go for just yet. Ancient Fury is still tantalizingly available, but tier 2 is going to drop first.
Probably want to take the tier 2 in the mid and then the tier 2 in the right, just because Snatty is going to be respawning soon, or just walk it up mid because you have that Fire Giant for another 90 seconds or so. Sunprod's got ultimate available. I smell an assassination on the wind.
I see a cage in hand as well, but it's not going to be used to even block the basic attacks. Maybe saving it for the throw room so the Titan can get on the action. Could be danger, though, for King Bop Bop. Driving strike into a corner and flattened beneath the boulder. What's the cost of your transgression, though? It's an immortal for Sunprod as they dance on the corpse of that Artemis. Still's got dagger in pocket as well. Thor ascends to the sky and crashes back down on top of Briz. They are toast. John Rowing able to TP back to safety. Sunprod finds the double on NMR. And now it's only Kill Cam Kenny left alongside Snatty. I don't care how many talismans you bring. They are not going to be for good fortune. Instead, it's a good stun there applied by the Kiss and Driving Strike. Better knock up, but no Driving Strike available to put Kaiveka in a rough position. Now the Titan can slowly start to be whittled down. Decoys, flames, it's all going to be applied. And with 18 seconds left on Inferno, it's a foregone conclusion. Holy Ghost steps up and advances.
As tanky and as much sustain as this Afro and Hercules have, it is just not enough damage to be able to push off Holy Ghost. And I really feel like that might have been a bit of a theme for this team in those team fights where you have Odin cages come out, but they're not landing where we want them to. The Merlin damage just didn't have a chance to show up. We have so much counter engage, but there was so much raw aggression from Holy Ghost that they kind of just didn't care. And you also had John Rowing on this Thor that was able to split up fights with these Thor walls.
Yes.
Just perfect.
Yes.
Cutting off Snatty, cutting off anybody. Like, just, I want to have a chat with you. And you're like, okay, I'm trying to open up the door. You're like, I want to get, hey,
let me out.
Please. So it was just too much aggression from Ghost.
Absolutely masterclass in the support role as well. We're going to talk more about it, tons to gush about, but only after a short little break, so don't you dare go anywhere. More. Hello everyone and welcome on back to Smite Prime, where the plays are always premium. D-Lo back on the mic here, Musi joining me in the booth, Tess and more, your almighty eyes in the sky, Jithens and basically Billy, your men behind the curtain, and we got a peek into a pretty primo first game for our bracket run today. It's going to be Ghost advancing. We got to see them on the stream, and they made sure to not disappoint, especially our friend in the support role. King Bop Bop was absolutely slamming. No first blood accounted for whatsoever. It was all part of the plan.
It's King of the Gold Fury, King Bop Bop. I mean, they confirmed every single one this game. And one of them was a steal out from the left side, taking out that Gold Fury. So, I mean, it was a good showing here from King Bop Bop, I think, showing that they bring quite a bit to this Holy Ghost team. You know, even though Speak No Evil isn't here, like, sometimes your rebound support can be a long-term commitment.
Yes, absolutely. A lesson in relationships as well as Smite teams right there. The one can, there's multiple the ones you can have, you know? There's no real true soulmate. You can make your own soulmate. Or you could sever the soul from NMR's body. And we were talking a bit in the green room, Musi, about how this team, it's got good pieces on the Wonder Kids, but it doesn't really ever get anything going. It's not an engine that can start on its own. You have to get the jumper cables out every single time. And honestly, I'm looking at this Afro combination as well with Snatty both having talismans. Somehow you're still getting amazing pulls like we saw during this fight with those no escapes, even though you have all those get out of jail free cards.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's not just King Bop Bop that was able to throw a crazy CC. John Rowing really showed up in this game. I mean, they were forcing talismans with every single Anvil of Dawn, with the walls. Like, there was just so much happening. I mean, again, great pull there by Bop Bop. And this is the moment where you kind of wonder, can Wildcard turn things around? But then, of course, Sunprod, who was untouched, immortal this game. Like, completely decimated, never once got looked at, I think, by Wildcard Wonder Kids. So while you have all the attention being put on Bop Bop, the rest of the team kind of went, cool, well, we have Sun Pride, so we're just gonna run at you.
It really was just a masterclass of support attracting the ire. It's like they're using Follow Me But we're not playing Pokemon, we're playing Smite, and they played a damn good game of it. Wildcard Wonder Kids were projected to win, based on the fact that Holy Glows got knocked out very early in the bracket. Now, that being said, maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe now we start to get to see Sunprod back to their original programming. But again, if you look at these slash lines, it's 8 deaths from Bop Bop, but every death is worth 5 of the Wonder Kids.
John Rowing and Globe, that is Globe, are the only ones to take the tumble there. And even then, I feel like the Neath kill was so inconsequential as a whole, where it was like, well, so be it. You know, not a big deal. King Bop Bop definitely just gets in front of the bullet. Get down, Mr. President! Like, tumbles through on top of the stage. And I also feel like, we already talked about it a little bit, but you know, where's that go button? Where's the gas for the engine for Wildcard Wonder Kids? Because you look at that team and you're like, well, you've got, you know, Jump Up Odin Cage. The Hercules can walk in there. Maybe a kiss from Kill Kim Kenny, but I feel like another thing that they suffered from was that there just wasn't follow-up for this team. So that's ultimately why they fell down.
And that's why our friends on Glows are going to advance through the bracket. And speaking of, we still got to take a look at the landscape, see how all of our friends did. I know you were rooting for our the opponents have clocked in. I've got to tell you, Musi, I don't have the highest of hopes that they advance. Crazy Kieran, not crazy enough, sadly. We'll go up against really good Prime Team. Wow, excellent.
Wow.
And now we also got Wake Up versus 800 GPM, where we're going to be headed next. Cherry Slush stepped up to Baile Inolvidable. The Smite 2 Bad Boy is going to be the next opponents for Gloast.
So, interesting matchup, I think, between Wake Up and 800 GPM. A couple of names that we are, you know, I haven't had a chance to see too much. I'm curious to see how the really good Prime Team does up against Clocked In, who are just the #1 seeds right now. But a Baile Inolvidable versus Cherry Slush matchup so early in the bracket, I think is going to have some implications going forward. Because Baile are really looking to win this game. They need to be able to get a few more points. They're seeded, you know, 7th. They want to try to secure that to stay in that top 8 where they need to be. Whereas Cherry Slush maybe don't have to stress out as much, but they don't want to lose.
Of course not. They want to make sure that they can practice in. They can also just prove that they're the top dogs around here, nipping at the heels of our friends on Clocked In. This is not going to be an easy dance for Baile Inolvidable. They got to make sure that they keep their hand-eye coordination, keep their feet nice and neat beneath them while they continue to two-step their way forward. And I'm just trying to think about what the plan is up against, or against not Orange Kiss, rather Cherry Slush. You've of course got some of the biggest names right now, and you got some of the biggest names currently that you're stepping up against. As we hop into P's and B's here, it's a question of, do you decide to try to target ban out folks like Scream, folks like BennyQ? Is it even possible, Musi? What's got to be the plan as we hop into the drawing board?
So you really do have to acknowledge some picks that Cherry Slush have in their back pocket. We're not going to see Aladdin this game. It's just not going to happen. Baile knows their homework, and they are not going to let that through, because if Scream gets it, he's going to go nuclear. Now, the question comes next of what else do you want to get rid of? I do like the Thanatos target ban from Cherry Slush. They done their homework. They know what's going on. But we still have very things like the Agni. We can maybe take that off the board. Shock is still incredibly strong, especially if you give that to Cherry. Like, you can't let that happen. For these types of matchups, it really comes down to less about what's the most broken thing on the board and more, what are you strongest with that's also the most broken thing on the board. So, like, you can't let Odin through. That's going to take it away. There's the Shock ban. That's targeted at Cherry, because you know for a fact Cherry's just going to be able to run it. But do you ban away things like Hecate? Do you ban away things like an Anubis, of all things? Try to lock down BennyQ? Maybe not that, but Merlin, I think, could be a very strong ban from Baile.
First pick for Cherry Slush is a lot of pressure. We saw just how unfortunate when you got the Odin and all of a sudden the Odin's not contributing because you're giving 2 amazing picks. That's the thing. We've talked about this a million times since the anti-heal meta came through, or rather the anti-heal meta came through. There's so many amazing picks, you're going to give the opponent a nuke. It's just, is it the right nuke? Is it the correct weapon on the correct player that you're deciding to hand them? Because inevitably, they're going to have a pick that is broken. Now, I'm seeing Ares still available. That's a bit scary. I'm also seeing Kali has not been banned either, Bari too, Merlin could be a good call. I wouldn't mind that to not let BennyQ get that. It's going to be the Ares. They saw that game from King Bop Bop. They said, no thank you.
So Cherry Slush could pick up the Kali right away here for Cyclone Spin, just to have it, but Merlin is going to be that first lock-in. I agree, just because you don't want to give the Merlin over to the other side. BennyQ looks so good with this character, and yes. Cyclone Spin can play things like Kali or Anhur or Ullr, who's still very, very good. Like, there's so much flexibility to be had in the dual lane, whereas the middle lane, not as much.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Hou Yi go over to Baile Inolvidable here. It's just a great safe pick. It gets you a ton of distance. That frame 1 hover is really annoying to deal with, as well as the great CC it applies too. I agree that they should get that to BennyQ first, because I'm not gonna lie, Cyclone Spin's been a bit taciturn in terms of their performance. Sometimes they got really good days, sometimes they got really rough ones too. Cabrakan and Kali are going to be the picks here. That's a really solid solo laner that could potentially flex into support, and a really solid jungle that could potentially be your carry.
And I do feel that at this stage in the game, Kali ADC is the stronger version of the two gods, just because she is able to quickly and easily apply all the damage that she needs to. She builds all of those attack speed items so well already. Like, just imagine the build you'd be building as a melee Kali, but this time you don't have to stand on top of people in order to kill them. Cherry Slush, I like the Hou Yi here from Cherry Slush, but in Cyclone's hands, it's another safe pick that I think really plays into the fact that Cyclone, like you said, maybe a little tacit these days, just kind of here to do the job of the ADC, and that is to get objectives and then not die.
Speaking of not dying, Baile Inolvidable step up with a Baron Samedi. Now, again, flex. There's a ton of flex here. I actually really love that from Baile Inolvidable. They're keeping their cards close to their chest. And with the Baron, you could go mid, selfishly with the aspect. I wouldn't mind seeing it, though, on support. Slow immunity up against the Crashing Suns is so useful for the entire team. I think that Neath guarantees it as well. So Baron likely going to be in the duo.
So Baron support with Kali, I think, is a very interesting duo lane, especially when you're going to be up against something like a Hou Yi Aphrodite, and that it's going to be hard to kill anybody. But you have so much sustain that there's going to be a lot of brawling. I wouldn't be surprised also if both teams decided not to look for too much in the ways of poke, but more so just kind of stare at each other while doing waves, knowing full well that getting those full confirms, getting those kills is only going to come when you have something like a rotation from your jungler. And it looks like Scream hovering the Mercury again really, really likes this pick. We've been seeing him lock it in almost every single game.
And they are going to throw us for a complete loop. We're taking pages out of books we've read before. It's going to be the Loki. They switch off the Herc as well. Would have said Legacy would have been super happy to see that go 2 games in a row. Sun Wukong, though, one of your favorite picks instead, likely for that solo.
And I do enjoy Sun Wukong. Cherry also makes the Sun Wukong look very strong and very powerful. Likes to run the aspect, the 72 transformation, so you get the knock up on the Master's Will when you go Ox. You even have reduced cooldowns for your bird form and attack speed with tiger form. Really good for being able to box around in your solo lane, but especially the Wukong versus Cabrakan matchup. Cherry is not really looking to fight the Cabrakan too much, but you do have the cudgel slam down for long distance clear on your wave, so he doesn't have to fight Cabrakan. He just has to kind of chill out in his lane and look for rotations over to Gold Fury maybe when the time comes.
The Nemesis is the final lock. No Captain Twig present on the board, but nonetheless, that is what they're going to be rocking with. And I'm interested in this option as well. Music, correct me if I'm wrong. Does the Afro ult not cleanse? Well, it depends if it's aspect or not, but if it is non-aspect Nemesis, does the Afro ult cleanse the protections loss?
You should still suffer from the protections loss, even if you Afro ult it. So it's going to be kind of a difficult situation, but I would assume that they're going to be going the aspect just because of the way that healing works nowadays.
Does make sense. Try to sustain and gain through the game, which we're hopping into. Cherry Slush up against Baile Inolvidable. Vamos a ver quién va a ganar. Dilo and Musi once again on the mics. Morty, your almighty eye in the sky, keeping the cam steady. Now we get to see where everyone steps up to. Do you anticipate this Sun Wukong? Is it going full damage? Got that blue stone.
So I would assume that we're going something like a hybrid type of deal with this Wukong, where you're going to have your Bluestone that's there for your clear, that's there so you can be able to slam down the Cudgel, the Master's Will, get that wave out of the way. But then you can look for something like a Devos, and then just tank items. Maybe you look for a Lash, which I don't know if I want to see the Lash as a first item. Valve and I were talking about solo lane builds yesterday, and especially when it comes to going up against like a Bracken, like a Genji's Guard sooner rather than later would look really good. Like Lash went from being a first slot item to something you build later in the game. So it'll be interesting to see if Cherio kind of agrees with us and opts for that, because you still want to pick up things like a Shield of the Phoenix. You know, you can still opt for things like a Mystical Mail so you can get the tick damage really going. But I think it would be more beneficial for Cherio overall to have a hybrid tank type build so that you can have inbound, not have to worry about being the only, tank, quote unquote, in the game. Because if Cherio isn't the tank, then where's your front line?
It's an issue we've seen many times across the Smite Prime board and across multiple days too. So I definitely agree. We want to see a bit more tank to spank with from this Monkey King. I'm also glad to see that this Baron is indeed operating in Rongyu's hands. Museus taking a grand overarching look at the board. I'm seeing an interesting thing here. Scream's got a blink. Anything else with the relics that you're just keeping your eye out for? Anything else with the God picks as well?
So we do have Scream with the Blink, like you said, and I really like this for Loki just because it offers him another way into a fight. However, this means that Scream won't have CC immunity for their beads. So the Cabrakan, a slow from, or rather a root from Baneri, a root from Rongyu can put this god into a bit of a tricky situation. Other than that, a lot of these relics look pretty normal, and Aegis for Neath is going to be tricky due to the fact that there are some easily applied CCs from Cherry Slush, so as long as Bayonary is staying okay with their positioning, they should be okay. Jarkor having a shell offers a lot of tankiness, a lot of survivability for a character that already lives forever. But it's weird to see it just because there aren't any walls from Cherry Slush. So it's there strictly to offer a bit of an extra health ball. Yeah, he's the guy with the wall. Jarkor, they're supposed to be getting shelled, not you, silly goose.
And they did it.
It's not that worse, and they have it too. It's there.
That is interesting. So lack of shell could certainly be a bit of an issue, but not level 5 to worry about just yet. That blink certainly could be useful if you weren't under so much pressure from the damage being output. The suck won't work back in, so Oath continues to pursue. Slow immunity, though, is really nice up against the Slice and Dice. The decoy does not work as a body block, but the Sun Wukong charges forward. 72 transformations, only knocks him up, though. Wish he could stun. Oath gets the first blood, and now maybe looking for second on top of Benny Q. That was just an appetizer, they say, but I think Benny Q's going to be able to escape unless a great Spirit Arrow finds their back, forces the beads, and the beads aggressively used to continue their pursuit. The shield helps them sustain the tower damage, and Benny Q slice and diced up.
I really appreciate the way that, Rongy, are you dead? Yes, you are. I'll miss you. Cyclone Spin finds a kill in the dual lane, so it's not all, rain clouds for Cherry Slush here. But I really like the way that Violet was playing around the fact that Scream was going for kind of a cheeky invade onto that blue buff and absolutely punishes him, doesn't let him get away. When you know you have the chase between the stuns from Cabrakan, the slows from this Nemesis, you can just stay on top of them and finish up that kill, because who is going to be able to peel a Nemesis and a Cabrakan off of anybody right now? Bobby's not there. So
no Oath. Okay.
I was watching that. I was like, but Bobby's not there to offer you peel. And without that, you know that you have the go button to just look for something. Imagine that engagement again, but Jarkor's level 5. This Loki just gets caught out. And again, Scream doesn't have beads. So he just kind of has to rely on, maybe if I walk in a straight line invisible and faster than most people and slow immune, they won't go after me. Unfortunately, Nemesis has the double dash, right? They're carded up on a Saturday afternoon. They're ready to go, mushroom in hand, to chase after any and everybody.
You know what's also tragic about that? You mentioned that this aspect, and I know we've had reservations about the aspect before, and in that situation, you needed the Tiger Stun, because the knockup sends you in the direction that you're moving in. So Cherio just gives him a quick little ride in the sky. Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle. They say, that's just fine with me. You're locked inside the knockup. You couldn't stun them, which could have given the necessary peel to keep Scream safe. So that's unfortunate. It's a rare instance where you really needed to have all... Well, I've never even seen 72 transformations, all right? I think Sun Wukong's lying. I think he's baiting us, but getting baited into a fight here around that red buff. Benny Q just gets absolutely decapitated by Oath, who happily scoops up the buff and now can take a second crack at the Flame Brands.
I mean, Merlin, Benny Q had to use their beads underneath that tower in the fight previous. And they still died there too. So Neith gets their ultimate online. That's global presence on the map there. It's a really rough start here for Cherry Slush, but we know that as a team, they play around these Gold Furies. They play around the early objectives. Now that the Gold Fury is going to be on the map, you're going to notice that Scream is going to leave the solo side of things alone. Maybe Benny Q will make a rotation over to Cherio, but by and large, there's going to be a lot of focus on the left side, on the duo side. That's why this Neith is rotated over.
The dash in as well from Cyclone Spin forces them to beat. These Spirit Arrows are home-seeking. They are excellent in finding their targets every single time and forcing all of this resources. Now Oath can hip-hop over because they recognize they have less resources in pocket, though that Undying Love is still up. So they're just going to opt to go for the buff instead. You could decide to pull a cheeky Fury here, but 5 minutes in, not that big lead. In fact, Cherry Slush, and this is tantamount to Scream being a master of the farm. Where are they? Just always getting objectives, always getting camps. And that's why you're still seeing them, despite being down 1-3, up ahead on the charts.
I mean, if there is a camp that is not currently on cooldown, Scream is gunning straight for it, and that is absolutely the philosophy you should be having as a jungler, that Scream just embodies. It's, I need to farm, I need to stay up, I need to be the person with the most gold at any given time of the game. And the only way for me to do that is to make sure that I get everything. No camps on the map, now Scream's gonna gank duo.
See if they can find him a good shot there from Lethal. Want to find their back, and also good damage as well. Scream instantly's got to turn back, forced to use their ultimate to escape. And that Blink Relic remains woefully unused because they're never the ones setting the pressure overall. Baile Inolvidable just playing it peerlessly in terms of baiting out resources, but not overextending.
That's a good call out. The fact that this Blink has just been collecting dust on the shelf. Like, when are we going to get to see it? What is that scenario where it becomes relevant? Blink as an engage tool for Loki is where I think it really shines, just because you get the reduced cooldown if you blink in and then do damage, as opposed to using Blink as a defensive tool to get out. Like, that is the way you want it.
Wow, what a fantastic stun beneath the sun. Rongyu is going to go down. This dual lane might just be Cherry Slush's victory point, because so far it's gotten the only kills they have on the entire map, and that linkage of the CC, the layering of it, is what's going to give them their kills.
You also have that new addition to Hou Yi's ultimate, where you throw down that giant AoE circle, and there's another circle there. A giant sun that you cannot walk through or anything like that. Which, maybe that's the reason why Jarkor has a shell, but it's not going to do the team any good until they make the rotation over. But for a character like, you know, Baron, how are they going to get around it? Queen Naga confirmed for Cherry Slush. They're going to start looking at this Gold Fury and immediately jump off, because guess who's here?
Baile Inolvidable. Let's see if the Steel game's just as good on inbound as it was for King Bop Bop. But the Nemesis is an issue. The Undying Love only blocks a bit of the damage, but can't get around that body. Scream, though, in the backline does take down Rongyu and begins to get to work as well. Benny Q takes it right back for Cherry Slush. Golden head on a platter as well. Cyclone nearly gets the mathematics down, but the angle is just a bit off. The damage just on for Baronary. They finally take down Scream. Aegis forced out. Benny Q with one last flick of the wrist through the wall. Baronary gets disassembled, and Oath going to be able to survive and back to base. Overall, a great macro fight from Cherry Slush.
And just like that, they're going to pull ahead in this game. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where as much as Cherry Slush might take the rough and tumble in the early game here, like the very early game, they play for Gold Furies. The moment the Gold Fury came up on the map, all of the attention shifted over to the duo side. The duo side that was already winning. Cyclone Spin and Bobby were getting kills, getting assists together. Rongyu and Golden have got nothing but deaths on their slash lines. So this propels that dual lane forward in terms of farm. It makes it so that there's a ton of pressure to be had on that side of the map. Even though Scream and Oath make those rotations over and Oath is looking very strong, it doesn't matter. The dual lane is what's popping right now. So after that, you're able to confirm that Gold Fury. They get on it, they get off it, and Scream is looping around the backside, playing this Loki perfectly, isolating somebody and deleting them off the map.
No blink even necessary, nonetheless. They still don't think have used that relic, but just proving the power of this pick in the right hands. Feels good. And you know what feels bad? When you feel like you should be winning. You're 3-0 on this Nemesis, and you're still somehow always feeling like you're playing catch-up to Scream. Even if the level difference is in favor of Baile, the actual impact around the map is far more going to tilt over to the side of Order. So if you're this Nemesis, what can you do to be more like Scream?
Honestly, if you're Oath in this situation, look for a few more ganks. Bobby's taking a lot of damage here, down to half. Rongyu has ult, but so does Bobby, so they're gonna hang out, they're gonna chill. He's gonna try it!
Hold on top. They shrug off both ultimates for the price of one. That's not good. That is a deal you were losing out on. Same story here with Cherio, losing out to the 1v1 solo dolo from Yarkor.
So the way that Neath ultimate was used in the mid lane there, I'm not a big fan. And that ties into what I wanted to say about Oath earlier. You have a global presence ultimate that hits like a truck, that adds you that last bit of damage you need whenever you go for a gank or a rotation. Oath should be very aggressive with this Nemesis. If Scream is going to focus on farming camps, try to put the dual lane, try to put the solo, cut them down to size, because Neath can farm in your mid lane and still offer you help for those engagements. And if the Cherry's already taken a couple steps down, if they've already died once, you can kill them again. They have only a little bit of those fizz prods, so you can definitely capitalize on that and try to make something happen. You're playing for kills, you're playing for picks. If you're not playing for that, Cherry Slush is just gonna farm until it's time to do Gold Fury again, because that's what they always do. We have talked about this consistently.
I'll see this consistently. Rongyu goes down for the 4th time, and the difference is we're talking about supports need to die. They need to die for a purpose. Rongyu is just a bit out of position, and that's all they need. You're seeing both members of this dual lane. Level 8 to inbounds level 11, level 12 for Cyclone Spin. I know we were talking about at the board that it's a bit of a taciturn player, but today they are clearly on it.
Well, and Cyclone Spin does the role of ADC so brilliantly, because here's what they do. They farm, and they don't die. That's all you have to do. That is your job. You are there to farm creeps, not die, hold left click on objectives, right? Killing people is not really your MO. Queen Naga confirmed by a Cherry Slush. Baile is looking at a Pyromancer, down to 1k. Looks like they should be able to have that, but Cherry Slush might try to chase after them.
Rongyu once again might just be put on the sacrificial altar, but with a winding loop from inbound, they might be sacrificing a whole lot more. Kraken does arrive to the scene. Inbound, a bit out of position, but a good Undying Love brings him back to safety. Could use it now, though, thanks to the walls. Inbound takes down the support foe in arms. Scream and Inbound go down shortly after. Cherry answers back with a resounding slam on top of Oath and charges right through that Cavs field stun. Can't find the secondary stun on top of Cherio, too. That would have been really useful. Overall, 2 for 2 in the trades. One that Baile and Olidable are okay with making. Don't make it any worse, though. Kali got a wind sprite back to safety.
Well, something that almost happened that would have been very funny is Cherio, whoa, dying? Hold on.
Nah, I think Yarkor is the one in trouble. That Phantom Shell does come through. They're looking for Benny Q first. Can you finish them off? The flames just aren't hot enough. But the miss of that stun from the incense is going to cost your solo big. Cherio plays around this corner, the most deadly game of peekaboo you ever did see. A Baron's Brew over the wall will not find a home. Did Cherio back? Nope, I'm still here, sucker. That's a lesson in object permanence for you. The Bluestone nearly finishes the job, and Cherio still considering if they want more. But who's on the prowl? It's the Nemesis. They got you in their line of sight. The Neath ultimate's coming for you. It's a good beads there to ensure they shrug off the CC, and Cherio gets back beneath tower. That turn back, though, might cost you big. The knock-up in response. This is a crazy chase all throughout the solo lane. Oath continues to pursue, closes the distance, and with 2 swings of their sword, finally the Monkey King will fall.
I mean, Cherry just tried their absolute best there to get away, but unfortunately, Baile's through the entire kitchen sink at this Wukong, just not allowed to live. Even though those beads were actually perfect from Cherry, unfortunately, Oath has crazy chase potential. We talked about a double dash from the Nemesis. It's very difficult to get away, but how much of the kitchen sink do we throw at Cherry Slush, and how much can we use to defend this Gold Fury? Not a lot. Confirmed by Inbound, Cherry Slush will take their second Gold Fury this game. So they're, again, sacrifice Cherry. Take a look at the objective. The macro play suits Cherry Slush in this moment.
14 minutes in, it's 9-9 on the kill board. Is it an even game in terms of the other resources? Well, let's take a look at the gold charts and you get your answer. 5K ahead for Cherry Slush, because again, they play the macro. They understand that kills are not what it's all about. That's just really a number that you don't need to worry about unless it's really a big divot. And also, the fact that Cherry stuck around there was really funny because it was a great bait as well from Golden, recognizing, I don't want to force this, right? Just playing the most deathly nursery game of all time. It does end up overall, though, in favor of Cherry because of all that attention directed to the right side. So Bile needed to get a bit of a reset. They need to zoom out a little bit and maybe start to look for the easier targets. Maybe look for BennyQ again. 1 and 3, uncharacteristic of a slash line for this player. But unfortunately, they're still keeping up in levels with their opponent.
So, and a big reason why I feel this Neath has been able to keep up with Benny is the fact that these Neath ults have been on point, just throwing them out there and being able to find assists. I think I saw one Neath ult that I wasn't a big fan of in the mid lane, and then every other one was like, okay, cool, yeah. Just be able to get yourself a bit of extra gold. Benny's been farming like a crazy person, trying to keep up with Bayonary and succeeding. Cheerio is going to get caught out with the ult, but the Pyromancer is where the real action is, as everybody started to stance up around there, and now turn it around onto the Yarkor.
This is not going to end well for you. What? Cyclone, where'd you come from? Yarkor is asking the same question from the gray screen mid lane. Similar story. Rongyu gets absolutely cut out. 2 more kills in 2 different lanes, but all in favor of Cherry.
And again, it's a similar problem that Ares has. Cabrakan, what are you doing to get away? If you're not full committing to a fight and winning that fight, you're cooked, right? That's just kind of what happens. So Cherry Slush say, hey, are you not underneath your tower? It's 16 minutes in the game, man. What are you doing? Not standing there with the team. I do think it's funny that Cyclone decides to, like, take that teleporter over. It means that they get to take a look at the Fire Giant. Again,
wow.
Cherry Slush never ganks any PP. Like, it's never for no reason. There's always something on their brain. We're gonna kill Yarkor. Why? So we can have Fire Giant. And Bile has no idea. The FG is confirmed by Cherry Slush. Now they get to take a look at Pyromancer. And this is all before that Gold Fury respawn, so they'll be able to go for that after they get their back and get some items online. The gold lead is starting to get to a point where they are going to have full items over Bile and Nobidable. And that is something that's going to be very tricky to deal with. At this stage, Bile has to knuckle up a little bit and kind of hope that their defense is as good as their offense.
That Pyro Bomb taking down a mid-tier 1, it just all is feeling so good for Cherry. And I love the fact that they sent Cherry over to that left side as if to fake a lane swap. No, we were going for the real objective instead. Scream could be in a bit of trouble. Caught between the Cabrakan, the Naga, and that Neath ult, but still able to assassinate back to safety. Scream, you dirty dog.
It's a nightmare blunt rotation if I've ever seen one. Gonna take the teleporter over. It doesn't look like Bile wants to pursue after them. So we're just, but yeah, you like that one?
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Scream's the one smoking him though right now. 3, 3, and 3. That's a bad omen.
It's not a great sign. Like, you want to be able to have your slash line look a little bit better, but you're still up in farm. You're still getting all the objectives. Remember how we were talking about King Bop Bop is okay with dying and okay with just losing their life so that the team can get ahead? It's a similar situation for the entirety of Cherry Slush. Everybody is willing to die if it means that they get to get something on a grander scale. It's that resource trading where not only are you thinking about ultimates and talismans and everything like that, you're thinking about your life. There is no greater bait than killing yourself to go for something big.
Absolutely. It's all about sacrificing yourself as a greater part of the entire team. A root could start things, but the instant frame 1 dash away, Cyclone Spin, worth noting, does have that dagger in pocket. And certainly having earned it as well, the way they're playing. Keeping very safe. This whole Yi is really difficult to pin down. Man, it's very easy, though, when you know exactly what your target's going to be. That Gold Fury is going to be up next. Cherio might be put on the sacrificial altar, but again, it's nothing we haven't seen before. The Baron ultimate actually finds the stun just as they become CC immune. So that means you're getting nothing of this Fury. You might not even be getting anything of Cherio as they dash back to safety.
Look at Cherio's build. Helm of Radiance and Spirit Robe, Yogi's Necklace Lash?
Never dying.
What a cook, by the way. And I love this Helm of Radiance. Wukong uses intelligence so well because it gives you extra healing when you're up in your cloud. You have an extra long stick, smack people with. Scream's ulting in. Cherry Slush looks so good.
This is gonna be trouble. The bomb gonna be looking to blow up that left side bird, drop down to 1,000, and just nearly burned away. The fight's extending a bit longer than you might expect, though. Cyclone spin, forced to dash. A good heal comes out from Consigned Spirits. Does not mean that Rongyu's any closer to being safe. Scream ensures that they go down with a handy use of that blink. Finally off the shelf, and now you're put back in the coffin. Beats forced out by the Nem. A backflip from the need to keep alive. Cyclone considers going back in and decides to elect for the aggression. Yarkor could be next up on the platter. Instead, Scream, who overextends these Spirit Arrows and World Weavers, back on the mark. Baronary takes the kill. Cherry Slush need to reconsider if they want to continue making sacrifices, because Yarkor is looking to get aggressive. Double stun there, finds the second one on top. The Spirit Arrow nearly able to ensure death, and inbound will go down finally by Golden's four hands. Cyclone continues the damage on top of the Kali. Beads forced out in response. Has no leap because they're knocked up in the sky, but Baronary takes down Benny Q as well. Cherio answers back on top of the Kali, but now they're walled in and have no ultimate to save themselves. Stay a while, why don't you? They will agree as they dash back in with aggression. Unfortunately, all that mobility that the Nemesis has can easily catch back up. Some time in the Somersault Cloud to reassess your thoughts. My thought is you're probably going to die nonetheless. Slice and diced up. Baronary finds their third kill throughout the fight. That's an amazing performance by the Neath.
Hey, Cherry Slush, they take away that left side Phoenix, and then they stick around just a little bit too long, trying to save each other from the inevitable doom that Baile is able to slam down on top of their heads, right? They just stuck around for a bit too long. That's really the long and the short of it there. But while they were sticking around, they were buying themselves time, because Baile, had they been able to grab a couple of kills, maybe could have forced something down on top of Pyromancer, take down a tier 2. There were responses in pocket, but they had to spend all that time fighting off Cherry Slush. And I want to speak again about how Cherio lives forever. This build is insane. I looked at it once and went, hold on, there's a master chef in the kitchen. You live forever because of Yogis and of Spirit Robe. You have crazy sustain because of Lash and of Radiance, and now you have this Brawlers. So Brawlers in Smite 2, the change recently, Pyromancer confirmed by Cherry Slush. They're going to look at Fire Giant next. It makes it so that when you heal in front of the person who has Brawlers, they get power and protections. Yep. So anytime Ronggyu breathes, anytime Oath takes damage, anytime Jarkor tries to slam and Cherio's there, they are so ready to brawl. It is so good for this Wukong, and Jarkor, you gotta run, man. I don't know how long you'll be able to live. It's not a question of if, it's just when.
Actually, I don't know, man. He's kind of running for the hills right now. You see him, a distant blip as he tries to reunite with the Nem and Kali swinging around the jungle. And I think Cherry's they're just romping through the hills, just stopping and smelling the roses. He's really fast, honestly. That guy's got the speed. Ka-chow, baby. Now could be Cherio, though, caught out instead. Left side, the tier 2 will go down. It's a push.
FG?
Instead, maybe for the Phoenix, traded for the FG. No! Baile Olvidable lose their nerve. Scream is sent back to ensure that the bird will stand strong, and a Pyro Bomb ensures FG goes to all 5 members of Cherry.
And look where Cherry is positioned right now. Up front in that mid lane, harassing the rest of Baile so that they can't even step up to that Fire Giant. The macro play, again, I could hit myself with a hammer as many times as we talk about this macro play. Like, it's so good from Cherry Slush. They know how to control the map. They're going to take this tier 2 tower. Left side is going to be respawning soon. That's why Scream is over setting up this Ancient Gold Fury so that the moment that bird spawns, we're going to have an Ancient Gold Fury debuff on all sides. Not even starting it, he's actually just soloing it. Loki in the big 2025. He started out as one of the strongest characters in this game, and now he's slowly rising back to the top.
Did they decide to wait? Yes, they do. No, they actually decided to just rip it. Okay, fair enough. They have enough confidence. They say, we don't even need it. You really could have waited 3 seconds. Like, fine, Scream. I get it. We got things to do here, baby. We are impatient. 23 minutes into this game, 13-13, and that's almost like just the dagger in the heart. The fact that this game's actually going incredibly rough for Bile, but you wouldn't know it if you're only looking at that one statistic. 13,000 behind, though, is a monumental statistic to keep in note. If you're Bile, Musi, what do you do to get back in?
I mean, this team is so good at fighting. This is a brawl composition. You just want to get in there and try to take some heads. I really want to see them lean into that a bit. Try to see if you can isolate somebody with the Cabrakan ultimate. There are no shells for Cherry Slush, like we talked about all the way back at the start. The only person with shell is Jarkor. And that is there for a Hoagie ultimate and fun. So if Jarkor is able to find Scream, ult them, find Bobby, ult them, pull an Afro ultimate, anything, burn away these resources, Bayonary has the last hit gun of a lifetime, and Golden is a late game scaling character. Bile is just looking to survive and looking to kill.
Stepping in, Cherio can easily tank that thanks to all those procs they've got inside their build. In fact, you heal in front of me, I'll get even madder. Just watch. Decent poke applied to Raw. He gets to wrap it up, but on a target that's got that flicker and pocket. Consigned Spirits keeps them in higher spirits and higher health. And now they begin with the life of the party. Pulls back in Bobby and still keeps Suck on going, but that great Undying Love keeps them safe. And now Rongyu's the one who's going to get erased. Cyclone Spin takes them down. That shell woefully unused by Jarkor could have been kept to save your friends, because now Barrow's dead as well. And Jarkor can only watch in horror as the fight descends into madness. And they're going to go down as a Phantom too. Baile Inolvidable does not seem like they're going to be advancing this time around. Cherry Slush making them into a fine paste inside the throne room. Dagger expended just for the extra damage. And it's going to be it. Cherry Slush, take it.
Cherry Slush had crazy poke there around the Phoenix, but also keep in mind they've got the Aphrodite healing there too. Way easier to have and confirm than the Baron Samedi Consigned Spirits. So in the end, unfortunately, Baile Inolvidable gets poked down and then just shoved down.
Unfortunate, man. You look at those first few minutes, you're like, whoa, hold on a second. This is a new Baile. This is maybe an upset potential. And then you go back and you look at the gold charts 5 minutes and you say, this is actually exactly, every game feels like a bait. Because they're always letting you get like first bloods. You're feeling great. You're like, man, new Founders Champs right here, baby. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, why are they pulling Gold Fury? Wait, why do they have a Pyromancer? Ooh, what's going on? Why we lost? We lost? Like, what happened?
What happened?
It's so unfortunate. That's exactly what I'd be wondering if I was on their side. And we got some more to wonder and talk about. So don't you dare go anywhere. Recap of that match coming right up. And more Smite Prime action after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime, where the plays are always premium. And one of our premium teams we just saw there, it was our friends on Cherry Slush, who will take it over Baile Inolvidable, but not without a pretty solid concerted effort on their part. D'Lo here on the mic, joined by my friend Musi. Walk me through it, Musi. We've talked about this narrative, I feel like, a million times. You especially, as the analytical brain between the two of us. Why were Baile just falling in the same trap that we've always seen Cherry set?
So Cherry Slush as a team, and we were talking in the green room. I talk about this all the time. I feel like a broken record. Their macro play, their flow chart is ridiculously tight, and it's so good. Where they are always on top of Gold Furies, they're always on top of objectives, and if they're ever making a rotation or a gank, it is because there is something over there that they want to do. It's never for no reason. They're not a team to play for picks or for brawling without cause. There's the beads that got burned that ended up getting Benny Q killed later on, by the way. Shoutouts. And then you have Baile Inolvidable. They had this comp where they just had to kill people, but they never had a chance to really get that online because Cherry Slush just get it's out of control with the amount of gold that they're able to accrue from all these objectives, where even though they die quite a bit in the early game, come late game, they're so far ahead, it doesn't even matter. It just comes out of left field at you, where you're just like, well, what, why, what? They got every Gold Fury, man. You lose the game.
That's how it goes sometimes, man. You just got to look to the grander objectives. And that first fight, man, I see Oath use that a really great aggressive beads to continue to pursue Benny Q beneath that tier 1 and get the kill. And I'm like, man, individually, these players are really solid technically. They know how to fight. But then, again, you zoom out. You go from a bird's eye view, which is where Mort takes us. Thank you very much there to our camera operator. And you realize that the picture doesn't look as pretty when you're staring from a distance. Up close, there's a bit more rose tint to the scene, and now it's bloody tinted because it's just splattered all across the field. Cherio on this pick, we asked that question at the very beginning, right? Does the Sun Wukong go full damage? No. He does damage, but he also just survives forever.
And he has to go that tankiness because Bobby's on that Aphrodite, which is like a backline support, just there to kiss Cyclone Spin or Benny Q, offer a little bit of Undying Love, the healing. Cherio, that build is ridiculously like tech. Like Helm of Radiance proccing, giving him extra int every time he gets hit. That's going to make his damage more better. It's going to make sure that his healing is up there. He gets to live forever because of Yogi's Necklace and Spirit Rope too. It's just such a good cook from Cherio.
It also extends the staff too. I'm not sure if it puts him in the threshold where it's a bit longer, but it can if you're playing Sun Wukong, of course, on that
500 int.
Long staff.
Yeah, I believe is what he needs. Yeah.
So then probably a bit below the threshold. Nonetheless, it's scary. It could happen. Better watch out. And what does happen is Cherry Slush take it. Take a look at the slash lines there. Yeah, it's impressive from Cherry. Gets 3 kills, only 3 deaths despite how much they were tanking and soaking up. And it again provides that reassurance to the point that inbound on these supports, I will again say I've seen him operate well on the aggressive ones, but I think inbound plays these backliners, Yamojas and Afros, so well.
It's definitely where he's going to be the most comfortable, it feels like. Like, if Baron is up, if Aphrodite is up, he's picking up one of them. That's definitely where he likes to sit towards. But he's able to flex over to, like, a Thor, a Bacchus, an Ares if it's available. But it wasn't. And honestly, Bobby just keeps Cyclone Spin alive. Cyclone Spin never died this game. 3-0. Got to do his job perfectly. Hold left click on objectives and just live. And because of that, Cherry Slush is able to make these plays where they can go for ganks and then look at things like Fire Giant or Gold Fury right afterwards.
On the other side of the spectrum, I do want to throw some accolades there to Baronary and Oath, who really performed quite well. Keep an eye out for them in the future if they're able to make it out of the open bracket. And speaking of, bracket here for you, Clocked In versus Wake Up. That's where we'll be heading next. The 1 seed up against the 4th. And Wake Up got to make sure that they are wide awake here to ensure they can take it up over the top dogs in this bracket. And damn near in the last 2, Clocked In were in the grand finals of the July circuit and just barely weren't able to take it. Also worth noting, though, Smite 2 Bad Boy is the father, son, and the Holy Ghost still in holy combat to see who can step up to Cherry Slush next.
And we talk a lot about how Smite 2 Bad Boys are always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So I'm curious to see if they'll be able to beat Sun Prod and Globe and take them off the board. Like, are you going to get there? Is it going to be another day of, sitting on the chairs and watching everybody else on the dance floor? They're already seated pretty well so far, so I feel like they don't have to stress out too much. But at some point, you want to make that last push to really get yourself there on the big screen and show that you are not a runner-up team. You are a real contender, and you are there with the big dogs ready to bark at them.
And it's not even just the mental game. As we hop into P's and B's here, it's also just about getting experience here. If you're able to play against the top teams, like we don't know what the scrim game is between them all, but if you're able to also get the experience, play against Clocked In. This is monumental for Wake Up. Now if they get in the closed bracket and this matchup rears its ugly head again, you've got some data to go off of to ensure better success. Or if you already get the win, then you just try to get that same flow going once again. Clocked In, first time we get to see them here on the stream today. And once again, a story of support, if you ask this caster. Speak No Evil is scary on the Ares, on the Baron, on whatever you decide to put them behind. It's going to be the Hoonbots, though, banned away first.
Hoonbots is an interesting band just because we haven't really seen hide or hair of the monkey, right? It feels like he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but Clocked In definitely respect what Fear No Evil can put out. Wake Up is going to respond by, I mean, it used to be the target ban Ares against Speak No Evil because he was the Ares player, but now the god is so good, you just take it off the board. Or are we just banning out Speak No Evil? Is that what's happening right now? Ganesha too? All right. Go crazy. You're going to let Paul get whatever he wants? You want to play that game? You want to give Tagbeer whatever they want? You can't ban out Clocked In. What are we doing?
The fact that we banned the Aladdin is actually very interesting because I feel like Clocked In is very similar to Cherry that they are oftentimes prioritizing the picks for their mid. And I haven't seen Paul on this Aladdin in forever. I haven't seen Scream on the Aladdin. I
it.
haven't seen it because oftentimes both teams are banning it. It's almost like you recognize the fact that even though Aladdin's fantastic in this meta, there are bigger threats. There are bigger guns that you want to ensure are in your pocket and not the enemies. Again, it's that idea of even if we pick something up, the enemy team's going to get 2 picks that are just as good, if not better. Susano is going to be the pick. This is Hallmark Tegvir. Aggressive, slippery, kills you.
I was almost thinking in my head, like, oh, here we go, a first pick Shock for Karmic, but yeah, Susano for Tegvir. I'm a big fan of that. You could even, I would imagine Paul could have a Susano mid in their back pocket if they really so chose and desired.
Sure.
But Susano's going to be one of those junglers that can absolutely decimate a health bar and have the ability to get out even after they engage in. And already a Merlin is going to be somebody that can get chewed up and sped out by the Sus if they're able to cross the distance.
Okay.
Chalk open for Karmic here. I really feel like that's going to be the pick.
I think it's going to be Shock Bari. I think Bari is not a bait pick if you put it in Paul's pocket because Paul operates so well at keeping safe during the early game and then being such a big threat.
Ullr.
We did, though, see the Ullr mid before Musi. This might not be a carry. It doesn't even have to be in those 2 roles. It could be a jungle. There's a lot of flexibility with this pick, too. But remember how well Paul played on this? Wouldn't be surprised to see it wander up the mid. Baron locked alongside it.
And I do like that in Paul's hands just because Paul is such a mechanically gifted player. If you can land your axe, you kill whoever you want to kill. That is,
yes. That's
the end all be all. Do you have beads? No? Can I ask you a question? Do you mind if I send you back to the gray screen? Smile, :3, ooh woo. All right, cool. I'll see you in a little bit, right? Like, Merlin has to stay super careful, hyper aware of their positioning because if they step out of line, it's going to be tough.
I will say that's a scary front line right there. Odin Shock,
yeah,
that's scary.
Double trouble.
That's 3 massive circles. Hoi drops the Suns, Odin drops the cage, and the Storm's calling for back home. Jing Wei is an interesting response. Knock up from the Hoi Yi, and also a knock up. I'm not sure, does it count Merlin, the Suck, as a knock up as well? Yamoja can certainly help you out with, though, with a little pat on the back or maybe a riptide on the ground. Propels that Jing Wei to greater heights. That's Clocked In's lock in. Sobek's the finish off there from Wake.
I really like the Wake Up composition here. I'm a big fan of frontline, of heavy engage, and that's what they have in spades. Odin, more than likely headed to the jungle, so Wake will be able to have that, and then you're going to give the Shock to Leo. And what Shock does in the meta nowadays is just live forever. Never die. Regrowth Striders plus Rain mean that you get to stay super nimble. You also get to give yourself a little bit of extra healing. You've got the Rain that gives yourself a bunch of healing. And also, you build something like a Spectral Armor. Suddenly, the Jing Wei can never kill you. The Ullr is going to have a tough time boxing you. And the Susano isn't going to be able to auto-cancel the same way that he wants to before. So I really like what Chalk does here for this team. And he's also able to play up with the Sobek so that when they go for that pluck, they're not going to be in no man's land. They're going to have a buddy right next to them. It's going to be
a few
Chalk,
asterisks
Sobek, and Odin. Yeah.
There's a few asterisks in the sense that Jing Wei with a Sobek, right? You're kind of able to easily... Yeah. You're not going to be able to pluck her out. Baron Samity, I will say, though, on the other side, that's going to be Aspect Baron, right? Which means there's a ton of slows being applied, and you're not immuning your entire team to them. Just yourself. A bit selfish on your side, Baron.
You have to make sure that you're going for the right targets, but be it Baron, Susan, or Ullr are going to be the big ones that you want to try to catch out if possible. But what I will say Clocked In does have, in turn to the amount of aggression that Wake Up has, is a solid amount of counterplay in terms of those River's Rebuke. You have a lot of survivability between Baron being able to heal himself, Yamoja can heal others, and then Jing Wei is just really, really safe. I always say that if Jing Wei isn't particularly strong, if she can't do a lot of damage, which I do feel in this meta right now she definitely can, she's always safe because of her ultimate and her crazy mobility, right? So that helps Hydrogen in the fact that they get to do their job of stay alive and hold left click on objectives. Karmic, Tegvir, and Paul are going to be the big swingers for Clocked in terms of trying to get people killed. And I'm especially looking at this mid-jungle combination to really get the ball rolling for Clocked In.
That's what they want to do, right? They are a pick comp, especially Susano and Ullr. It's a lot of single target damage. I burst down one person. I've done my job. It's now a 5v4. Same story, honestly, with Jing Wei. You have a bit of AoE, but not too much. Baron Samity, Wrap It Up's only going to affect one person, at the very least, with the initial hit before the root settles in. Wake Up on their side, though, a fantastic team fight. It's just big circles, which I really love. I'm always a sucker for like caveman combinations of I drop a giant cage, I literally collapse the sun down on top of you, storm call, you're Dunsky. It's all going to be over from there. I would not be surprised to see talismans be built here by our friends Speak No Evil to ensure the safety of their friends. And again, this is a support player that oftentimes has a lot of accolades when it comes to the damage they do. Now you might need to start thinking about your backline and their safety as well.
And if you want to talk about damage, Umoja has been rising through the ranks in this meta just because there's so many extra healing items that really help her out in terms of what she can do for herself and for her team. But the amount of damage that this character does is really, really sneaky. Moonstrike bubble, Moonstrike again, that's tough to go up against, especially for somebody like a Hou Yi. If you can catch their dash, or rather catch them without their dash, you're never catching a Hou Yi dash. It's frame one
Correct.
in the air. It's always free for them. It's very tough to play against, but catch a Hou Yi out of line, catch a Merlin out of line, they're dead. Plus, you also have Paul with the axe, and you have Tagvir with the Susanoo pull in. It's a lot of CC, a lot of easily applied CC that can pick some people when they're not paying attention. So it feels like Clocked In is going to be opting for high damage pick comp, while his Wake Up is just, like you said, big circle caveman combo. I'm trapping you in Owning Cage, and I'm following it up with everything under the sun, and also the sun itself, because I've got a Hou Yi on my team. It's going to make their team fights around objectives very deadly for Clocked In, whereas Clocked In the jungle, if they find you there without a parent to kind of help you through the hallways, you're going to get shoved into the lockers, kid. It's first day orientation at school. I'm taking your lunch money. I'm taking your lunch. I'm taking your shoes and your binders as well. Like, you are not allowed to have anything near Tagvir and Paul.
Back to school special sale. Do you have a hall pass? That's the question we're going to be asking you. If not, I'm writing you up right back to the principal's office. Actually, you know what? How about just hop in the coffin here? Stay a while if you don't mind instead. But the question is, when they group up as 5, I'm very curious to see, how do you even access the Merlin and the Hou Yi? The positioning is very key here for the back line of Wake Up. And hopefully they can keep their 10 toes locked in and dig in their heels. We're hopping into game. Clocked In, Wake Up. Best of 1 series. Let's see who advances between the 1st and 4th seeds as we hippity hop on in. It's exactly what we expected in terms of the roles. Musi, what I'm interested in is the relic game. Do we see any shells?
We see 1 shell, and it belongs to Tagvir. So it's a little bit interesting to see that for the Susanoo, just because you would almost expect it to go for somebody like, Speak No Evil, or maybe even Hydrogen, but Speak No Evil is going to opt to have that Sunder, so that kind of tells me that Clocked In is looking to play around Gold Furies early on in the game. And Tagvir's job is to make sure that wherever Wake is, Tagvir's going to be there too, so that they can pop that shell when an Owning Cage comes out. But that does mean that Tagvir won't have beads to deal with things like the, Gungir's Might from Odin. You get marked done by a Hou Yi, a lot of easily applied CC that, everybody on that team is able to throw out at you. You're going to have a great answer to that. So Speak No Evil needs to stay on top of it with things like Talisman of Purifications. But Susanoo isn't going to play around their team, so it does feel like that's something that can be very easily abused.
Shell is a relic that feels terrible from behind and great from ahead, because you can just wander right through that cage if it gets in your way. But if you're playing from behind, you have no CC immunity, you're going to be in so much trouble. And that's what Clocked In like to do. They like to snowball early. Especially when you have this Tagvir on Susanoo. You want to find a pick early in the mid, maybe. Merlin's Flicker is good for mobility, but not that great. You can still easily catch up to it as the most mobile god in the game, that being Susanoo. Well, maybe Janus has trumped you for that, but we're not seeing him just yet, suckers, so don't got to worry about that. I'm looking for Wake Up to stay safe. They need to make sure that they are wide awake there, keeping vigilant, observant, looking on the towers and saying, I see Susanoo on the starboard bow. Everyone get back to safety. We should all just wait until our Odin can come bail us out of trouble. So hopefully that's going to be the call, because I'd love to see a little upset action. Clocked In are feeling a bit too comfortable at the top of the pyramid ever since they got this new support.
And you asked me earlier, how do you crack into picks like the Merlin and the Hou Yi, especially when it comes to like a 5v5 situation? So I want to see a lot of flanking from Tagvir. This Susanoo shouldn't be seen by the enemy until it's far too late. And in order to make that work, it's going to be on, I believe, Karmic to kind of harass the frontliners, kind of show up here, draw the attention, draw the ire. You also have Speak No Evil with the Emoja, who is mostly going to be positioned back towards where you're going to have Hydrogen sitting and Paul kind of sitting in between, because you need Paul to be able to be in a position where they can frag out on top of somebody when they get the opportunity to do so. They can't be too far away. So imagining that kind of lineup here, Tagveer is going to have to loop around the side and maybe try to get behind them, because Merlin and Hou Yi aren't pressured to walk forward with Odin, Shock, and Sobek. Those are 3 picks that can kind of move up as a unit and kill people by themselves mostly.
Yeah.
Like, Merlin can just throw out big circles and non-commit. Hou Yi has to stay his ground in order to get his damage off, but he's not going to be the one to kill people unless somebody really steps up a little bit too close in range of the auto attacks. That means that these backliners should be isolated, and that should give Tagveer an opportunity to be able to take them away. That's going to be hard to do without beads, though. He's sitting there with the shell. So if Merlin throws out a black hole, if Hou Yi throws down his sons, a giant AoE slow field, what is the Susanoo going to do? He's going to have to exit stage left and then try to swoop back in a different time.
I think the pressure is also on the side of Speak No Evil in the sense that Wake Up don't have a shell, right? We're talking about this relic usage and how it's important for Clocked In. It's also really important that Wake Up keep their mobility in check. They have to make sure if you're leaping as Hou Yi, it better be out of range of an incoming River's Rebuke, because that, in my mind, is exactly what I'm pulling if I'm Yemoja. If I see a Merlin flicker in front of me, again, not much distance on that ability, I'm instantly rocking up with the waves because no one can save you. Sobek's got an ult. Everyone has an escape from Wake Up. A lot of them are more committal than others. Shock's got to use 2 abilities to get done. Sobek's got to use their ultimate. Hou Yi and Merlin can easily get out, but then what do you have left in the tank to save yourself from the rocking waves? Not a whole lot. So I want to see restraint. I want to see that come out in the middle of the fight or at the end to cut off any disengaged potential from Wake Up and make sure they stay sleeping for a bit longer.
It really is going to come down to like the flow chart of, do you have X? If no, then I Y. And it means that both of these teams are going to be trying to eye each other up, stare at each other for a little bit, poking and prodding to see what they can bait out before they actually full commit into a fight. And when it comes to that long-term poke, long-term sustain type of engagement, Baron Samedi and Yemoja are perfect picks for that style of play. Speak No Evil and Karmic should be able to keep themselves and their team healed pretty frequently. We know that Karmic does have the aspect, so that means Consigned Spirits won't be doing that job, but Speak No Evil will have no such limitations in making sure that everybody gets to stay alive.
Karmic operating on this Baron in the Soul Lane is definitely interesting. I haven't gotten to see this pick for quite some time. You see in the mid, see in the support, it can operate well in the solo. I think Find OK was a really big proponent of that when the God was first released. How does this matchup look, though, on an individual scale up against the Shock?
So between Shock and Baron, it kind of comes down to where's Karmic putting his abilities. Is he using his abilities to clear the wave, or is he using his abilities to try to poke out Dishonored here? If Karmic uses the abilities on the waves, he won't be able to fight off Dishonored. If Karmic decides to use his abilities on Dishonored, he can't clear the wave. So by and large, Karmic is not really interested in fighting against Dishonored too much until he gets a couple of items online, be it something like a Doom Orb, a Chronos Pendant. You know, he's got the Vamp Shroud to offer a little bit more sustain for himself, but he has range. His Hydrogen dashes in.
They have level 2 advantage, a great agility, also using that attack speed buff that it gives you right afterwards to establish some dominance here in the duo, which is, of course, again, always what you're looking for. Maybe on the wake-up side, they're looking to try to put Paul in the grave first. Not going to have any easily applicable CC just yet, though, to accomplish that said fact. This duo in the mid lane, the jungle and the mid, is going to be really interesting to see. How does an Odin link up with a Merlin to finally put the Ullr down? Is it even possible?
I mean, bait the Ullr jump and then put him in a cage. That is going to be how that plays out there. Tagveer tries to catch Wake by surprise, pulls him in. I don't know if he kills, but he's looking pretty good.
I'm going to go with gold pots. If I'm dying, at the very least, I'm doing it rich. But it seems that with that
no kidding.
we'll be able to get back out for now. Tagveer waits in the bushes to see if support comes, and indeed, the support is on the way. Tagveer, though, not a care in the world. One last Storm Kata, one last auto. The job is finished. Wake, dead.
I love the aggression from Clocked In, both the jungle and the dual lane. Hydrogen dashing in on top of, Kyoka, show off face, and Tagveer that will just chase Wake through the jungle. Susano is so much more mobile of a character than Odin. They have 2 ways to get on top of you and a way to pull you back into range. Wake jumps over the wall. All they can do is walk away, and then doesn't believe that Tagveer will chase after. They're so low health. Of course Tagveer is going to go try to pick you off before you get a chance to get yourself online. So now the Susanoo with that first blood gold should be able to catapult themselves pretty securely towards that mid game. And we were talking earlier as well about how Clocked In needs to stay aggressive, needs to make sure that they get that ball rolling. Well, this is 100% how they do that. Now the question is, where is Tagveer going to take this extra bit of gold? Honestly, you could kill Merlin. 100%. Susanoo is built to kill a Merlin.
Also now built to take down the Sobek, tries to block the charge prey. I love how this Jingwei dash is being used aggressively. It's risky as hell, especially when there's a Sobek standing in front of you, waiting to lick its chomps and charge its prey. But if you're got the pressure, you might as well expend it. And Tagveer being able to expend their pressure across the map. Now this shell feels great, because if an Odin drops their cage defensively, I do not care. I walk on water and I walk through walls.
Just straight through it, and also offers himself a bit of extra, health bar. Makes it so that if, Kyoka tries to throw some autos at him while the shell is up there, he takes reduced basic attack damage. So it'll be good in a team fight to be able to pop in a pinch. But I'm worried about the lack of beads still. Think about who can keep the Susanoo out of sorts. Kaidon's got a black hole. Wake's got the spear he can throw. Tempo, Kyoka, even Dishonored to an extent. What are you going to do about a Shockled on top of you? Tagveer will never be able to fight in a team fight. Hello! Blink and you'll miss it. Looks like Paul found Wake just walking in the wrong place at the wrong time. Twice that the Odin has gone down now means that Tagveer gets to super farm and really pull ahead.
Paul says, go to sleep, and they're just going to continuously bully this Odin. Again, every single time this Odin is like top locked, it seems to instantly get shut the hell out. I don't know what they are going to be able to do if your Odin, who's supposed to be lead engagement with the pressure, has the blink, right? Again, we're going to see this Relic collect some dust. What can you do when you don't have the pressure to apply? Speak No Evil applies some pressure on the objective there with those Oracles. Not going to go to either team. I think it was a split apiece. Now it's a Riptide back to safety. Unfortunately, couldn't catch Tagveer. But that's okay. Most mobile character in the game, baby. And Paul throws an axe back to ensure and dissuade any potential chase.
So while the Susanoo doesn't have beads, getting plucked there could be tough. But again, like you said, most mobile character, he's got the cloud set up to just teleport to. Just barely able to get that ability out. So you need to be able to have layers to even lock down Tagveer at this point. Cool, I got the pluck. Now I gotta hit my Gungnir's Might to hold him in place long enough to get the last hit, to get that kill. Gold Fury is spawned at this point, and Clocked In are definitely in a position through the aggression that they've been able to have in dual lane and the fact that Tagveer doesn't afraid of anything, to maybe take an early first look at it. With Moonstrike from Speak No Evil, giving yourself some extra basic attack damage and attack speed, Hydrogen should be able to shred through that pretty easily. And Clocked In, if they find a fight around the Gold Fury, so be it. They want to take Wake up for a spin.
6 minutes in, already 1,500 ahead. No Gold Fury necessary for Clocked In, and 2 kills to Wake Up's big old goose egg. Where do you want to see that first kill pressure go? It might be on the solo lane side. Odin is lurking in the wings, recognizing no shell, no mobility for this Baron, and no healing provided once the cage closes around them. But will they survive is the question. As Odin makes their leap on in, could be a bit of trouble here for Karmic, but Susano is on the way and has ultimate in pocket. Still pressure being applied, and finally the Typhoon comes out. Purification beads not going to save you. Dishonored is already dead, and the Odin might be in the same spot. This is going to be trouble if you apply all of those chips. You push your all in on the center, and you're still going to have to run into the tower. Let the minions have me. Bury me at sea. It's an archer to take the kill on Wake.
And that was the moment for Wake Up to find their kill. Wake, you know how Susano is like designed in a lab to kill a Merlin? Odin is designed in a lab to kill a Baron Samedi, right? Because you get the cage out, what is Baron gonna do? No shell, no way out, he should die. Dishonored is there to offer in those giant circles, the caveman combo, to be able to kill them. but Karmic just barely ekes out with their life. They have a life binder, so even if you don't get the healing, you've got the shell that procs inside that Odin cage, you still get value. And then you also have the aspect that is able to give you a ton of value when you decide to ult. You'd be able to pluck in and get that stun. And then Tagveer shows up, and Karmic is still alive. And now you gotta deal with the 2v2. You used all your tools on this Baron. It was not enough. So Clocked In continue their reign of terror in every lane at this point.
Doesn't even have to be that many kills for Tagveer's presence to be established. In fact, don't even need Tagveer at all. Paul and Speak No Evil does the job just fine. The Ring of Spears rise up and the Odin falls down. All of these kills have been on the jungle. This is a terrible day to be Wake.
And there's just so much like training wheels action that just happened there because Speak No Evil lands their stun. That means Paul can land his stun. Paul lands his stun. That means Speak No Evil can land his stun. So you just die. You lose. And this Odin had started with a Jotun's Wrath. Kiaka is half health. Speak No Evil plucked.
Well, Riptide's aggressively, knowing that the leap is down, the Suns come crashing in, but the damage is too much to deal with. It's a good soap execute in response to try to reestablish the tempo. Hydrogen has that agility. A Gungir's might in hand. Let's see how good your javelin throwing skills are. Not good enough. Hydrogen able to escape. So at the very least, Wake Up grace the kill board, but only on the support.
And it gives Sobek a bit of extra gold, but honestly, we really wanted to see that go to Wake. He needs every bit of help that he can get to get back into this game. And I wanted to talk. Well, Tagveer wants to talk. He wants to kill Kaidan. He'll do it pretty quickly. Not a whole lot you can do about that. Built in a lab, D'Lo. Built in a lab to kill a Merlin. Just think about it. You flicker away? Nuh-uh. Pluck back in. You want to try to make any type of distance from me? Nuh-uh. I dash back in. Also, Paul's here too. Good night, sweet prince.
Sobek's here as well. Instantly realizes they've made him a grave mistake and dashes back to safety. Tier 1 goes down 9 minutes in. That is so much pressure for Paul. Now they can easily rotate to this Gold Fury. It's a Sunder in pocket, but all these relics from Wake Up have just been left on the shelf, forgotten like a toy in Andy's chest. And it's looking to be the third Toy Story movie here. Gonna have to get the sun to set on Wake Up's early game, and now they got to lock in. One Gold Fury already. It's going to be more. 5K ahead at this point in the game. What are you doing if you're the side of Chaos?
I was just thinking about that. Like, Wake Up are in such a position where you are holding on for that 20-minute mark. Because your jungler's 3 levels down. Your solo laners are about even. Everybody else is about even, but the jungler is 3 levels down. And Tagveer has been the pace setter for this game. Wherever the Susano goes, death follows. So you need to be where he isn't. And try to find whatever camps you can on the map. If you have a back camp that's off cooldown, you better put it right back on cooldown. You better hard focus your farm and tell your team to kind of grit their teeth for a bit, because Wake needs to get themselves back into the game.
Hydrogen could be in a spot to bother. The tail whip, worth noting, also knocks you up. Shock waits in the wings. Let's see if we can get a good kill for Dishonor to try to gain momentum back. Can't tell if Hydrogen's privy, though. The Oracles are not down, which means they don't quite know. They find out very quickly and say, oh, hey, Shock, what are you doing here? Whee! Wind Sprite back to safety, and that's going to call back in the troops. Tagveer's here. Speak No Evil lurks in the wings. And now the danger might be on the other foot instead. Hou Yi decides they want to fight, forces that leap, ultimate's ready, and it's going to instantly be used. That's the call for action. They're going to be able to immune the leap, or rather the pluck. And Kiaka gonna unfortunately be taking a hop, skip, and a jump right back to Fountain. Tempo will shortly join them. Dishonored, glad that you made the visit, but it might be right back to Fountain in just a second. A good stun, followed by some decent damage. The Storm Call is the retort. Paul's here as well. B's just going to come out to immune the knockup. Can't immune the death, though, as Paul finishes the job with axe in hand. Another 3 kills unanswered, and the pockets are clocked in.
And while Dishonored is making that rotation out from the solo lane, Karmic is farming the whole time, and will be able to find that tier 1 over in the solo side and an extra couple of levels to their name as well. So it's an unfortunate rotation from Dishonored, where not only did you give up so many waves, you found nothing. Odin jumps over the wall, but I feel like Speak No Evil catches him here.
The cage this time used defensively. Wake with a couple jumps, expresses glee at being able to stay alive for more than 5 seconds in a fight. That is certainly a good thing. The Baron ultimate closes it around 1. The stun to follow. Like you said, it's the transitive property. Stuns lead to more stuns, lead to Kaidan dying. Tengvir dashes in a great body block on top of the Sobek. Your spirit's been consigned back to the grayscale. Tempo falls too.
Hey, Tengvir's just been on it this game. They've been on it with the body blocks, with the rotations, the ultimates, the pulls, the chases. It feels like we're in a situation in a game where it should be further in than where it actually is, because Clocked In is just dominant at this point. They are so far ahead and unafraid of anything that Wake Up could do. Wake Up is at a situation where they just have to capitalize on a mistake, and that's a tough spot to be in at only this 12-minute mark. Clocked In will be able to scoop up a Pyromancer, and Wake Up have got to start thinking about a new way to come at this game. I think it's like I said before, you just gotta farm. You just gotta farm and farm and farm some more. Get out there in the fields, tend to the crops, get to the harvest. You gotta start putting grain in the windmill, start grinding it down, get some bread, make yourself a victory sandwich, because it is gonna be a tough going to even start to slow down Clocked In.
Right now, Clocked In only been serving up knuckle sandwiches. Courtesy a lot of Hydrogen. I want to just call back to that little play we saw there on the left side. No kills, but the fact that they got a ton of poke off on Wake, and they didn't chase around the corner. They didn't overextend. They recognized that there could be someone lurking in the wings, and there was Kiaka waiting for them to potentially overstay their welcome. On the other hand, Kiaka, in that last fight we saw in the dual lane, they get aggressive, they get all up in Speak No Evil's face, they leap away, but out of a distance that the Rivers of Butte can catch you? No, they were still within range of the waves. And Speak No Evil is going to call you out on that every single time. The support, peerless. Don't care if they have a death. Does not matter. It's death for the sake of the team. And right now, the team's looking awfully good as they start to position around this Fury.
I do like the fact that Tempo built a Spectral. I feel that being able to slow down any of the attack speed from a lot of characters from Clocked In that kind of rely on that, be it
That's true.
Paul, Hydrogen, Tengvir, but mostly focused on Hydrogen because Jingwei almost has to build in the crit, so try to slow that down. Gold Fury picked up by Clocked In, and I wonder if Wake Up can go for the steal.
We'll see. Sunder is in pocket. That blink, again, remains unused, but now we're going to start to apply it. Stormcaller on the backside. A good starting fight. The Phantom Shell, though, and Jingwei surveys from the sky before diving back in. The Typhoon, the rocking waves, it's all going down, but the Shock's still pretty healthy so far. In fact, Tengvir finally shut down. Tempo is the worthy sacrifice in trade. The Suns drop down and also block Clocked In from pursuit. But Wake Up, gotta make sure they don't stay around a bit too long lest they be rocked back to sleep. Kiaka, unfortunately, does not hear the message. And now Hydrogen misses a few pivotal autos. Some good body blocks there from Dishonored. Keep Kaidan alive long enough to get the kill, but Speak No Evil's there to instantly humble them right back to the base. It's a 2 for 3, and Clocked In can still look at that Fury, but will Shock allow it? Still have steal potential with the Torrent. Karmic going to be able to secure it there in favor of Clocked In. No objective dropped, and a good heal for Speak No Evil as well. Baron still waits in the wings and drops down the coffin as well. Trying to invite Shock on in. Stuns on top of stuns. You're having no fun. Dishonored will fall up next. And Wake, sorry, buddy. I don't think it's time for you to stay up. In fact, don't you need a little bit of a power nap? Paul going to graciously give it to them with one last double kill.
So Clocked In that moment had an opportunity where maybe they were going to be the ones to fall behind, but Wake and Dishonored really try to force something on top of that Gold Fury, but you have got to respect what Paul and Karmic are capable of, especially with the amount of damage that they're going to have. And Karmic isn't necessarily building damage. They've got the Lifeweaver as their main source of intelligence, but what they lack in that is cooldowns, Genji's Guard, Regrowth Striders. Like, anytime they use something, and if they get hit with a magical ability, they're going to have it back up in just a second. Clocked In also find themselves a Pyromancer to boot. And Paul hasn't died yet. They got a crazy amount of gold, they're doing a crazy amount of damage, and if there's a stun available, transitive property, stuns on stuns. It's the training wheels of a lifetime for Paul here. He never gets to miss. He doesn't have to stress out about it at all.
Oh my god, so much damage from Hydrogen. Instantly forces that leap away. Hydrogen this time might have overstayed your welcome just a little bit, but has that airstrike in pocket and forces the Odin to reconsider. Do you want to step up against me? Hoyi's not backing you up anymore, buddy. I don't think you realize what you're messing with here. Hydrogen gonna make quick work of him, but can't find the last auto. to grace them with death just yet. Dishonored steps up and finally forces Hydrogen to go away. That was a 3v1, and Hydrogen essentially won it.
I mean, Hydrogen has this Titan's Bane in the back pocket, so they have penetration. So Wake, with their Legionnaire's armor, with the Brawler's Beatstick, it doesn't matter. I'm still penning through you. I'm still shredding everything you got for me. And even though Hou has that new passive where it's like, oh, I get crit, I get all these cool things. I don't care. I want to crit you again. You think I care about anything you got going on there? I'm huge.
FG on the mark here for Clocked In. Dropped down about a quarter. Storm Call would have been good secure, but instead used for damage. Now the waves will have you buried at sea for Dishonored. A good Typhoon sweeps up Wake, who's got to take a wind spray to get out of dodge. Left side, Kiaka not present for the coming objective fight. Instead, they're just looking for the farm. Left tier 1 will go down. Wake Up have potential to try to contest. Asunder still in pocket here for tempo, but they decide to neglect that option. Fire Giant on all 5 members of Clocked In.
So we are now at a stage in the game where Clocked In is ready to take it at a moment's notice. And look at what's up on the field. There's nothing there. There's a Pyro Bomb that got abandoned and left behind. Clocked In want to try to find a pick before they go for these tier 2 towers. So Wake Up have to stay careful. They need to position themselves very defensively. As much as they have an aggressive composition, their defense is really good too. The circles on circles comp works when you're underneath the Phoenix. You got the Storm Call, Odin Cage, you can lock people into a bad position.
That's true.
You just gotta beat them forward into it. But is Clocked In at a point where they are so far ahead that they shove all of that aside and kill you anyways? They're gonna walk up on that T2 mid.
No issue in the world. The stun, followed by Consigned Spirits, and the slow immunity gets Baron right back out to safety. Not trying to play it too risky. It's a split across the map. Tegvir takes the left and Hydrogen on that right. Just pushing up these minion waves in preparation. Worth noting, Ancient Fury won't be up for a while. That's a big saving grace there for Wake Up, since these Phoenixes can't be potentially weakened until they take this Fury and the next. So Clocked In have got to kind of rein things in, or maybe start to reel back in the Shock instead. Great damage there despite the Storm Call. Hydrogen has that dagger in pocket too. The Torrent will grant safety. Hydrogen pushed back out by the Suns and decides they don't like the look of this situation. Or maybe they do. Airstrikes back in, but Baron left woefully by themselves, plucked back into the tower. Can you make for a kill before you go down? The answer is yes. Karmic hits you with Karma and takes down Kiaka. Left side, Speak No Evil, rocks the waves on up alongside the cage. I can do walls too, or I can just kill Kaidan right in front of you. Blink of an eye, Tegvir bursts him down. A 2-for-1 across the map in favor of Clock.
And Clocked In still have minions pushed up on the left side so that they could take a look at that Phoenix. But no ultimates means that this fight is just going to come down to abilities alone. Here we go, walking up in it.
Dishonored eats some body shots, just that way the Phoenix starts to target down Hydra. The Nagas were used and allow for a bit of extra poke on top. The left side bird certainly will be burned away. The question is, what more can we take? Tier 2s in every other lane force Clocked In to reevaluate their structures before they can continue to advance with the birds. So instead they'll rotate onto mid and drop that tower as well.
I just realized Wake is level 13, man. That is so tough.
Feels bad.
13 at 20 minutes in the game. This Odin has a chance, like, they haven't had a chance to breathe. They haven't had a chance to do anything. At this point, the only way that they get levels is forcing an Odin Cage out and hoping that you survive the experience long enough to get some assists. And that's assuming that your team gets any kills, because they only have 4. And 2 are to Dishonored, and the other 2 are to Tempo. None of the carries have damage. Uh-oh, maybe they can find Paul?
Paul, I was wondering, are they waiting for Paul to like bring up the item shop? But Paul's not bringing up the item. He's not clicking I until he's back in base, all right? You can't catch him with the casual combo. Not going to happen. Not on a player this prime. 21 minutes in, 19-4 in favor of Clocked In, 17,000 ahead. If Z-Tan were here, he'd say it's uh-oh territory. We're here and we're saying it's a gosh darn tragedy. This Odin at the very least has Blink, so they don't need to sacrifice their leap to get off the cage without taking too much damage, but then they instantly probably got to leap back out to safety. Is that the game plan beneath these Phoenix Sieges?
You're looking for picks? You're looking for anything you can have. I don't know if there is a strategy at this point aside from, like, I hope we kill somebody and get a lot of shutdown gold. Like, at this point, you just have to hope that Clocked In screws up in a major way. And knowing Paul and Tegvir and crew, that's a tough ask.
It's a tall order.
that's a tall order, and I don't know if the waitress is ready to hand that out yet. You know, the kitchen says that we're low on stock. I could check in the back for you really quick, maybe. I mean, you know, we just haven't got the imports. It's tough. It's a big ask.
86 Wake Up Farm, right? Like, it's just, where is it? It's nowhere. They've literally stripped the entire jungle. With that Scorpion gone, it's completely barren. We are sieging them literally at this point. We are starving them of food. And it's going to be long. It's going to be drawn out. It's going to be painful to watch. But it's oh so effective here from Clocked In. I love how Paul is playing this Ullr pick so well as well. It feels like Paul just spins a wheel, decides a god they want to make meta in the mid, and they do it. Pyromancer goes down to Clocked In too.
Fire Giant's going to be respawning, so that'll be on the horizon. That's what Clocked In is waiting for at this point. Because as far ahead as they are, they're not interested in making that mistake that Wake Up needs to get back into the game. Like, they don't have to play a game of forcing things. It's, let's do fire, let's set this up, and then we're just going to walk it down. We have such a ridiculous lead that we don't have to look for anything too crazy. Although, in that same breath, you can't wait forever, because then Wake will hit level 20. They went from 13, we were chatting, in 3 minutes, they've already gotten to 16. By not slowly forcing things, by not slowly pressing the boot down, you're going to give Wake Up a chance to squirm back into a position where maybe they could threaten you in a team fight. So yes, wait it out. Yes, play it patiently, but also keep the pressure slowly mounting.
Pressure now around the pit. Secure in pocket here with that Sunder, and maybe the cage keeps them locked in a bit longer than Clocked In want. It's going to be Shock, though. Up to them to step up first. Pops the hide of the Nemean Lion. They're just going to ignore him instead. Stormcall has to go back to try to defend the Hoi Yi, but now it's all falling apart. The fight's been cracked open. 3 kills instantly. Drop down on top of Wake Up, and they're going to be getting the big sleep as 2 more bodies are all dropped down. Dishonored will fall first. Unstoppable for Paul Odin in a cage of their own making will go down just inside the red buff pit. It's a deicide. It's Clocked In playing flawlessly, and they're going to clock out with the game victory.
I mean, they baited everybody from Wake Up forward, and a crazy Rivers rebuke from Speak No Evil traps Wake Up inside, gets a crazy amount of damage, the Tremble as well, Clocked In. It was never about the Fire Giant, it was always about the kills, it was always about the Titan, and it was just so cleanly done.
There was just nowhere for the Shock to leverage their pressure because I step up to try to contest this FG, right? My back line just disintegrated behind me. What do I do? You are forced between... It's option paralysis. You are having a panic attack watching that team fight break down that way, and we'll get a chance to calm things down and take another second look at it in just a bit. So don't you dare go anywhere. More Smite Prime action right after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime, where the plays are always premium here. D-Lo behind the mic, Musi standing right alongside me as we watched our friends unfortunately take a tumble. What do you expect? It's Clocked In, baby. They're the #1 seed for a reason. We got, of course, Morten Man as well as Tesla, Almighty Eyes in the Sky, Jithens, and basically Billy, your men behind the curtain, and we here to spectate some amazing, great Smite games. Taking a look at the last one, Musi, what's the same story that we'll always be seeing?
Well, Clocked In, we're kind of locked in, you know? That's the motto, that's how it goes. And we really got to talk about a couple of the big players. I mean, Tagfear was going crazy with this Susano in the jungle. We needed them to set the pace, and they absolutely did. Wherever Tagfear went, death followed. You had Hydrogen on this Jingwei that was staying constantly aggressive, battling through 2 spectral armors that ended up being built from Wake Up. But maybe you should have opted for all 5 because Hydrogen just didn't seem scared at all. Paul was Paul. You can rely on that. Karmic was Karmic, and Speak No Evil is slotted in so perfectly into the Clocked In team. That support was doing numbers.
And it's so interesting. Yes, they're like one of the very few deaths, but Speak No Evil on Clocked In plays incredibly different than another support we're giving so much credit to earlier today, which was King Bop Bop.
King Bop Bop.
In the sense that they are like setting people up with these stuns. They're leveraging that CC chain that we saw so many times. You mentioned it first. Paul has training wheels on. It's just like riding a bike, but the bike is guided by the best missile system in the world, which are these moon strikes, which easily set up everyone on a silver platter for you. And then you have that right there as well, the Baron ultimate. Paul is one of the best technical players in the game, like you mentioned, the P's and B's, but you don't even need someone who's that skilled if it's all set up for you so easily.
It was just so much CC that was so easy to land and so easy to put on. And there was just a ridiculous amount of pressure put into the jungle as well. Wake was level 13 at 20 minutes in the game. Not even once did anybody from Wake Up actually have a chance to play the game. There was even a gank that happened in solo lane like early on in the game where you had Dishonored and Wake ganging up on Karmic. We're talking about Odin is built on a lab to kill this Baron Samedi, but somebody broke containment because Karmic got all the way out of there and didn't get a chance to, or rather, like Dishonored didn't get a chance to finish off the kill. And because of that, it was just one domino after the other. Clockton just cleans up every single team fight that they touch.
And look at Wake, just confused at the end, lost in what they should be doing. They just bang their head against a wall. It'd be frustrating if you were going 0-6 on this top lock Odin too. They opted for the blink. You clearly went in with a lot of confidence, and that's admirable. You never want to be playing as if you're expecting to be behind. You always want to play with the mentality of, we are going to win this. Sadly, the reality does not always follow your wildest dreams, and in this case, it was a wild success for Clockton. Tons of damage being output here by Hydrogen as well, top on the player boards. They're just getting those massive crit arrows offline, and doing a solid job to keep themselves safe as well. That pick was made to stay away from the Sobex clutches, and it performed and complied with that ask.
Clockton consistently looks so good every time that we see them, but I'm curious to see how everybody else fared in their games. We get to take a quick peek over there at that bracket, D'Lo. I want to know who is going to be up against Clockton at the end. Who won?
I think we saw at the very end, Benny Q was on the defensive end,
yes.
and indeed, whoa! This is the best matchup you could ask for. Two supports playing at their peak. It's the replacement. It's the rebound girl up against the old ex. And now you got to say, you look good in that dress, I guess. You rock those towels pretty well, I suppose. You know, I think you're looking a bit rough around the edges, but you could pull it off, I guess. We'll see. Okay. I'm so much anticipatory of this matchup because it's going to be the former champions, but now the ones that are stepping up at the first seed, right? We were expecting and projecting Sun Prod and the rest of Ghost to be dominant coming off of that last circuit victory. Last week was not the case. Now they're at the top of the pyramid as we hop into P's and B's.
I was so pulling for this matchup. The moment we got to see Holy Glows
again,
man. I was like, what if we get to see Clockton versus Holy Glows? I wonder how Speak No Evil feels going up against their old teammates. How Holy Glows feels seeing
man.
Speak No Evil on the other side of the aisle, where it's like, I had something once. My identity, my support, and now it's gone. So, I mean, Speak No Evil is going to have the pulse, knowing what callouts to make for Holy Glows, knowing how Sun Prod wants to play, how John Rowing wants to play. Like, it's going to be kind of scary for Holy Glows because they've got the inside man.
I mean, Tegvir was already, if you think about going all the way back to Founder Series, the fact that Globe used to play with that jungle. They used to have them on their team. There's already knowledge innate. They used to play with Happen, but now Happen's been swapped out. There's always a bit of interesting chemistry here. The Nemesis to Lovers arc, or Lovers to Nemesis, I suppose, instead. No Nemesis on the ban board, though. We're going to go for that Agni, the Shock, the Cab, and that Aladdin.
Gotta keep the Aladdin away from Paul. That's like rule number one. But now that we know that Paul's got the Uller in the back pocket, they got Bari, you can't ban out Paul. But we don't see the Ares ban yet. And Clockton is going to be first pick. There are 2 bans left to go. Are you going to give it to Speak No Evil, or do you try to give it to King Bop Bop? I feel like if Ares gets through here, Clockton have to pick it up. But there's still the Kali to think about for either, Kiveka or Hydrogen to have. But I feel like Hydrogen is another one of those ADC players where they can just kind of lock whatever they feel like doing. There's the Ares ban. So now we have to think about Neith, about Kali, about Princess Bari. It's going to come down to flavor. You know, what do you feel like playing against? Are you going to give Tagvir Susanoo? Are you going to ban that away? Because I don't think I want to see that run back. I think Clocked In run away if they get the Susanoo.
And that's also a pick that Sunprod likes to play a lot as well.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a top lock. There's so much that's intriguing about this matchup because I feel like everyone's fighting for the same pieces on the board. That Ares, that Baron, that Yemoja. I'm really looking for the support picks. But by banning the Ares away, Clocked In are telling me they don't want a top lock for the support role. They want to save that for a damage dealer. They want to get Tagvir on a Nemesis maybe. And Sunprod also likes to play the same way. They play pick, they play early, they play snowball. Hoi Yi is the ban. They don't want to see Hydrogen on something that's safe.
Are you going to first pick Susanoo? Yes, you are. Yep.
Yes, you are.
There it is. Tagvir with the run back of the century. Denies it from Sunprod. So I feel like Sunprod probably looks for a Loki here down the line. But I think it's maybe a Merlin or an Odin or something for Holy Glows, just because you want to try to keep that away from Paul. You could even look for something like an Ullr here if Kaveka wants to have that for themselves.
What?
Rama?
No way. No way. That's got to be just cover troll.
I'm
just
curious.
Messing with us.
Do it.
No, I'm not.
I kind of want to know.
You stay that way, George. I think I'm good. You do not want to have that
Odin.
one. It's going to be the Odin. And that's going to Sunprod if you ask me. Because remember, this is what he got his godlike on. This is what he got his godlike on against Orange Kiss, otherwise known as Cherry Slush last time around. And this was banned at the very beginning. Scylla support for King Bop Bop, a known staple of this one player. This is going to go crazy.
So, this is another thing that I had a chance to talk with Valve about yesterday, about what the Scylla support does. She is here to offer a lot of CC. She's got the slow damage field, but also it's kind of like a mental mind game. Dilo, you're in a game of Smite game and you see a Scylla on the field. What's your initial impression of how easy it should be to kill her?
Pretty simple from what history tells you.
Exactly. That's a squishy mage. Monkey Brain sees squishy mage and goes, I'm going to beat that mage on the head with a stick.
Yeah.
And then she's got like 1,000,000 health. So you're like, whoa, why are you not dead?
That's a scary factor. Artemis and Nemesis. Here's my issue. Kali and Merlin just went over to Clocked In. Bellona as well. That's great disarm. That's great CC. I don't think they should. I like the Scylla. Why'd you pick it so early, though? No one's going to take it on Clocked In. There's no mid-game bans. You didn't have to worry about that. Bellona's locked in. I am now really scared. Speak No Evil on Yemoja is already a threat. We don't know what the support is going to be. King Bop Bop is probably biting their fingernails down to the quick. Is it? Or actually, no, we do. It's Scylla. Rather, we don't know what the mid's going to be. Anubis, though, is very audacious up against a character like Susano who just wants to cut you down wherever you stand. Nuwa, I don't know what I want. These are such weird, out-of-pocket picks from the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but my God, this game's going to get biblical.
Aphrodite.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay.
I got to think here for a second. Okay. All right, are you
Let's go to Globe. I'm good.
You're
you
chilling?
Good?
We're good?
I'm chilling.
All right, we're good.
You chilling?
We're good. All right.
All right,
chilling. We're taking a breath here.
Whew.
Aphrodite mid does a sneaky amount of damage. And you also have items like the Heartward Charm you could build, so you could have your birds and then birds again, or you can do the Staff of Mirrodin, which is going to be the more offensive option for that combination. But what this Afro can do is kiss somebody when they try to go on top of them, right? Susanoo goes on top of this Afro. She can kiss him, birds him, back off. Boom. Suddenly, the Susanoo has to use another ability to try to go in. All right, cool. Undying Love. I'm still fine, right? But also, it just connects with this Odin jungle, so these two characters are going to be a terror on the battlefield.
This is a story of support and their jungle friends standing alongside them. Clocked In, or the rebound crew of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost will figure out who takes it as we step into this best-of-3 finals.
And there is King Bop Bop Scylla support like we knew it was coming. So, again, offers a little bit of CC, but the ult as well does a sneaky amount of damage where you're like, oh, okay. It's still a tankle. It's not going to do that much. Oh, gosh, it just hit me 3 times, right? So That's something that you kind of have to be aware. Also, with the Zoe, King Bop is always in a safe place, always able to offer up a bit of information to their team as well, that Wandering Ward. So it'll be interesting to see how this dual lane goes between, speaking of Evil, Hydrogen and Bop and Kaveka. Because you also have, with the slow field, with the root, that augments the damage that the Artemis is able to do as well. So it does give a bit of pressure to Holy Ghost in that lane, because Hydrogen's not going to be online right away. Kali is a super scaling pick, but like you called out before, Odin in the jungle for Sunprod means that cage is going to be all over on the battlefield. I just hope that Glowstone will be able to utilize it better than we saw Wake doing it in the last game. Tagvir's got to feel pretty confident going into that matchup.
Hey Musia, I'm taking a look at Wall Street right now, got my ear to the ground. How are the shell stocks looking?
Oh baby, they're up. They're so up right now.
They're so up.
They're so up. I'm buying. Shell. You got 2 for Karmic, between Karmic and Tagvir. So Tagvir again making sure that they'll always have that out against Sunprod, but again leaves him very vulnerable to things like Kiss, like Slice and Dice, like a root from Holy Ghost, Gungnir's Might. So you can peel off Tagvir as long as they don't get so big that you just can't live through Tagvir. And Karmic having Shell makes sense. It's just another way for Bellona to live.
Speed buff secured, I do believe, by our friend Sunprod. Phantom Shell having to be expended not for the walls, but instead for the safety. Globe, though, might be the first one to fall. Luckily, that Aphrodite able to just barely stay alive. Damage the left side to King Bop. Getting a bit banged up so far. Worth noting, 2 shells on the side of Sunprod's team as well. 1 born by the mid, and 1 this time born by the carry. So there's going to be a lot of safety from these player-made obstacles. It's going to come down to who can bait out these resources for the health, and then not for the actual peel and escapability of those structures. At the very least, though, Clocked In don't have too much to fear in terms of the natural kits and what they can do to escape. You have a lot of leaps.
There is a lot of mobility from Clocked In. I mean, Karmic will be able to start a fight with the rally here. Tagvir is a Susanoo. We've talked about that to, the end of the football field and back. And then Speak No Evil, I feel like we haven't talked too much about what this Umoja can do in terms of getting their team from point A to point B. We're going to see it right now. That ring, can you get to the ring, Speak No Evil? You might be in a tough spot here, actually.
Yeah, that cripple, buying enough time, the root on top, thanks to that trap. And they're going to get another Sikkim on Sikkim. It's going to be a lot of damage for Speak No Evil to deal with, but the suppressed damage is off the mark. The trap finds it. The crush, 1 bit more of damage. Don't have the ultimate. Instead, the body blocks come through from the Kali. It's King Bop gracing the screen as the first blood. Finally, that Artemis going to be able to find 1 last rain of arrows, but Hydrogen still stands up with a decent amount of health. You're marked for death, buddy. I don't think you want to step up.
You've got the autos to be able to trade out. You could jump in. They're going to try to go for this kill, but I feel like Kaveka should be able to stay alive because look who's coming back.
Sola's on the mark. Gets that sentry in. Forces the beads on out. That trap in the Sundering Arc might be able to finish the job. 1 last auto, but Hydrogen able to nimbly juke, duck, and dodge their way back out to safety. And it's going to be a 1-for-1 overall. The duo, right side, though, Tagvir in a spot of bother. It's a leap on in. The Phantom Shell, though. Don't even need it for the cage, baby. I got health. Not enough, though. Tagvir will go down. A great Aegis keeps Sunprod with their life in tow. That's what you want to see from the jungle.
And because you have this Aphrodite able to kiss on top of you, you get a little bit of sustain off that as well. When Globe hits level 5, you'll have Undying Love. There's a lot of peel, a lot of sustain from Holy Glow so they can take these extended fights and just stick it out until the very end. These are going to be some brawly team fights. I'll tell you that right now. We got to pick up like a Talisman of Purification or something because there's just so much CC. There's so much sustain. You got to be able to blow them up all at once. And in turn, both teams are trying to survive that engage. And we have so many shells and Aegis and Sunders. Like the relics are 1-for-1 the same. They're just shuffled around between the teams. 2 shells, 1 beads, 1 Aegis, 1 Sunder. We're ready for anything at this point.
And we've been so focused on how much meat there is to sink our teeth into between the jungles, the supports, and the mids. This solo lane matchup's also very interesting. John Rowing's playing Nemesis solo. That's the first time I've seen that today. First time I've seen that in quite a bit. Aspect is going to ensure you essentially have got 2 life bars. What does this look like for the Bellona?
So Karmic is going non-aspect Bellona, which I have been really enjoying recently. Get a lot of bludgeon damage. Whoa, Globe is...
Whoa! The waves come crashing down on top of Globe's corpse, barely able to leap back out to safety. Sunprod, of course, says, I can't die until the Titan's about to. If you let Sunprod get on a murder streak, that's where I start to say things get scary, because it's just almost prophetic at this point. Again, biblical. It is told in the prophecies that this little kid cannot die. And this little girl is starting to ensure that Speak No Evil can. Wow. All 3 bites taking a chunk out of you, and Kaiveka finds the last shot to the heart.
King Bop Bop hit every single Scylla ult.
It's like you said.
Yeah, it's gross, and that's an ultimate
it hurts.
Known for being difficult to hit, and that damage stacks up, 200 damage a pop. That opens up the Gold Fury as an avenue for Holy Glows, and they're gonna jump on that immediately. No Sunder in pocket to confirm it, but no enemies to have to confirm it away from. Down it goes to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Glows as they start to exert their pressure across the map. You want to get Sunprod kick-started, you want to make sure that that Odin can get off the ground for once. That global gold is how you can help this Odin keep up and farm and really be effective on the map.
6 minutes in, it is 2-3 in favor of Holy Glows. However, the gold actually, despite that Fury, is still in favor, just barely, of Clockton. And this is where we talked in that last circuit about how you no longer can say the names on Holy Glows are nobodies. They are marked in the hallowed halls of Smite Hall of Fame history. But where I do think Sunprod oftentimes gets eked out by these more veteran junglers is losing in the macro. They oftentimes fall a bit behind. Paul, though, striding far ahead, takes down the team mascot with some help from Tegvir.
So as many tools that Aphrodite will have to keep people away from her in self-peel, she lacks the mobility to deal with the Susanoo who just keeps on her, especially if Merlin's there too. But now Paul in a similar situation, trying to fend off Sunprod, who is just killing him.
They're going to be able to provide that Phantom Shell. Once again, not necessarily for the cage, but to assist them in staying a bit more alive. Tegvir can't complete the kill themselves, but around the corner, Speak No Evil, maybe trying to pay a quick visit there, remind Sunprod, hey, I might not be on your team. I'm still lurking in the corners.
Yemoja does have the Life Weaver, so you have a bit of long-range poke and more sustain for Clocked In, and the shells too. The shell part of Life Weaver should still be proccing when the Odin cage comes up, so I really like that item pickup for Speak No Evil. Plus, it's just an extra bit of damage that Yemoja already does a ridiculous amount of. Speak No Evil is a real threat on this map. If there's any follow-up for this Yemoja, you are not long for this world.
I'm just so curious, like, so who starts these fights between the two? I mean, Odin, I feel like, is the big key on Holy Glows. Clocked In, I feel like I've got options. It could be an Eagles Rally, it could be River's Rebuke, it could be Susano. What do you want to see them kick things off with?
So, because King Bop Bop is going to be going this tanky Scylla, she's allowed to stand up in front of everybody. Uh-oh, Hydrogen.
Yeah, no death immunity this time, buddy. You're rocking that aspect. The cage not going to stop me. I got a leap, sucker. Instantly winds their way back to safety. Sunprod can't find any. Paul on the rotation instantly disassembles their atoms, and now Artemis, you've become the hunter into the prey. Kaiveka's got no mana, no friends, no business being this far in my jungle. Scylla can only watch from the sidelines as they try to win Sprite back to safety, but Susano can easily catch up, and Paul can catch them black in a killing spree for the mid.
No Gold Fury available for Clocked In to take a look at, so they'll just have to take the kills, but a failed gank from Sunprod. Unfortunate that they're not able to lock down Hydrogen there. And Kaiveka didn't have mana to really get away to begin with, but again, Artemis is a character that gets so easily chased down when they don't have Caledonian Boar. You were talking before about how, you know, who's going to start a fight off for Holy Glows. I mean, I was mentioning you have King Bop Bop that can stand in front, maybe look for a root. That's a good way to get it started, but you're right. Beyond Sunprod, it's going to be John Rowing that maybe tries to walk up and be annoying, start things off with. They can't start with an ultimate, they're running aspect, so there really isn't a distinctive go button It's again a pick comp versus a comp that can just all in on a fight off of a couple of abilities.
Damage being applied here by both supports. Unfortunately, no invincibility for you, King Bop Bob. You're going to go down before you can get off the third chomp into that Yamoja. A great pullback from Tegvir. Shouldn't have let me on my Susano. The rushing winds will have you. And Globe spirited away back to that fountain. Sunprod under a significant amount of pressure beneath this mid. Everyone on Clocked In's popping off.
They want to go for a little bit more here. The Nagas are underneath the tower, and Sunprod hasn't left yet. So this does leave this Odin a little bit vulnerable, but Kaveka makes the rotation.
Unfortunately, that Artemis doesn't really have a great engage. In fact, gonna wait for them to try to counter-engage, and indeed, they'll opt for it. The Boar, not quite doing its job, finally rushes around the corner, but Tegvir takes that as their cue to enter in and take down one more. Artemis will fall just as soon as they pop the ultimate. Who says I can't engage when the Boar's up?
That is scary stuff, because Holy Ghost at this point, they had an initial Gold Fury earlier in the game. Looked like they had some great momentum starting for Sunprod. But the Susanoo Tegvir difference, regardless of the outcome of this game, regardless of if Ghost wins, if Clocked In wins, you're banning the Susanoo next game. You have to.
I agree.
Because this player is ridiculous with this god, or pick it for Sunprod. Regardless,
yes.
Tegvir can't be allowed to have it. We're looking at a Gold Fury now. It's below about half health, and Bop Bop is here with Sunder.
No, it's down for another 30 seconds, which means no steal potential. Speak No Evil says, yeah, I'm the real OG support for that team. You don't even hold a candle to what I can do. And Paul's candle will continue on burning despite the gank attempt from John Rowing. That feels bad. That's supposed to be your domain, your kingdom that you reign over with an iron fist, but now the peasants are starting to revolt.
Who let all of these peasants into a really cool castle? It's like that one episode of Gravity Falls where you have to open the gates to undo the curse. Well, Clocked In have opened the gates and have completely found every bit of momentum that they want. And I'm a little worried for how Holy Ghost is going to be able to turn it back around on top of them. Maybe it's going to be a gank over in the solo lane. Sunprod's there fighting off against Karmic, but it doesn't look like John Rowing is quite in position to capitalize. It's just an argument over the totem. So where's your end? We already talked about how the initiation from Holy Ghost isn't quite there, and I really think that's going to end up biting them in the butt, because without being able to reliably get these cages out, if Sunprod falls behind, you do not have a horse in the race, unfortunately.
I will say what is a good saving grace is it's not a blink for Sunprod, so they can at least play from behind a bit more safely. Jetstream is applied, but Tegvir opts not to take it. Lifeweaver on top, but you might have left your Emoja by themselves. These great cripples being applied force Speak No Evil to halt their progression in trying to retreat. Once again, the bites rain on top of their back, 2 instead for the price of 1. Speak No Evil just shrugs off that damage and says, I'm just fine. Let's maybe look at this Pyro. No, instead look to the kill in the mid lane. That Undying Love's been expended, but dying might just be what the Afro's about to do. The Blizzard rains on down, and finally, Globe will fall. The waves come crashing up alongside the cage. And Sunprod, restrained, constrained, gotta go back to base. Seems that King Bop Bop will be escorted much more kindly by Tegvir. They're gonna go down the hard way.
Sunprod jumps over the wall to get away from Tegvir. Mid T1 is gonna be the target for Clocked In. How do you kill Speak No Evil? They have Lifeweaver and they have Spirit Robe. So anytime you try to lock down this Yamoja, she's just gonna sustain through and keep herself alive. And
yeah,
Holy Ghost is looking for anybody that they can trap in the cage and be able to hold in place long enough to get that kill. Clocked In do find themselves that Pyromancer. But the fact that Speak No Evil is so tanky makes it really difficult to find anybody to isolate and kill. There's nobody on Clocked In that really screams pickable to me. There's nobody that looks like they could die at a moment's notice. Maybe Paul. But that's because he's playing Merlin. And then even as you say it, you're like, well, Musi, that's Paul. And also he's 6-0. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but
and also
maybe he catches Flicker. And also he's 3 levels ahead. Listen, if we dogpile on top of this Merlin, you can get crazy shutdown gold. But after you do so, you gotta run. Because Tegvir's right around the corner. And they're 2 levels ahead over Sunprod. And it's what I said, man. If Sunprod can't stay ahead, Holy Ghost is going to have a really tough time in these fights. They just have to hold on until late game. And it's crazy that Clockton is able to enforce that type of mindset so early on.
14 minutes in, 10-3 here in favor of Clockton, and already 7,000 gold. It's rapidly unraveling here. Hydrogen might be a killable option, but you got to save your Sikkim either until the leap's down or when you're sure that you're able to nail them, because it's an instant reaction there to keep the Kali safe and out of their clutches. So a lot of resources spent, a lot of time wasted. I respect the fact that Holy Gloucester is still trying to get active across the map, but unfortunately, you need to shape up a little bit more because this Gold Fury is about to come up, and you're losing an awful lot of resources for it.
And you won't have those resources for the Gold Fury as it's respawning right now. Holy Ghost can't stand up to this push, and it is dead, gone. Sundered away. Hydrogen will be able to take it for Clockton. So they'll have their second Gold Fury this game. That gold lead is going to start spiraling out of control. It already is. And in fact, we could walk all the way over to Fireshine and just do that now instead. I mean, we're at a stage where Holy Ghost has to find a way to slow things down or equalize things out. And honestly, that time is not coming anytime soon. In my mind, we're already waiting for Phoenix Sieges to happen. So until Clockton starts knocking on that door, start clearing out your jungle farm, start getting as much gold as possible, the time to force things has passed us. We're on the back foot.
I will say John Rowing's been doing a pretty good job at obeying that demand of you, invading this blue buff very consistently and only about half a level behind. And Nemesis with this aspect is a very good god to play from behind, right? Because you essentially are using Pain Split. You're a Gengar that's just going to wait for you to get down to low health and then suck it right all back up.
The aspect of Justice does a lot to be able to give you sustain in a fight and also threaten people when you're low health. Pop it on top of a tank and all of a sudden this Bellona, Speak No Evil, lose a lot of their tankiness, a lot of their health bar. That gives an opportunity for the rest of Holy Glows to be able to jump on top of them and finish up that kill. Maybe when John Rowing starts showing up to these fights. Oh no. Yeah.
I think
no, John Rowing.
I'm so sorry, John Rowing.
Casper Curse.
Get out of there, buddy. Drop the lashes. Drop everything. Don't double dash aggressively, you absolute madman. King Bop Bop's also on the way, recognizing that their nemesis is in a spot of bother. So that's good. Thank God. If you lost John Rowing there, I think it's a massive blow to the mentals. But again, a double dash forward. I want John Rowing to stay safe. That's a player that we've seen capable of amazing feats of glory and damage. And maybe just presenting yourself as an alluring target when these team fights happen, getting all low and then sucking that health back out from Speak No Evil could be a way back in. Pyromancer started up here by Clockton. Scylla is present, but doesn't really have the steal potential with their tank aspect that they would have prior. So rotation coming in as well from the Nem. First time we've seen her part of the grander action. Slowly burned away, dropped down to 1,000. Speak No Evil again says, "What you gonna do about it, Bop Bop?"
They're sitting across at the dinner table like, yeah, I'm actually running an incredibly successful objective confirming business right now, and it's going really, really well. And Holy Glows is just like, that's nice, I'm so happy for you. I'm glad I agreed to this dinner.
Well, might be a date with Destiny for Sunprod, unless the cage says different.
Not
going to use any of those shells because they recognize that Paul's on the scene instead. Looking a bit chilly out there, but the Blizzard doesn't find the last ticks of damage. A leap away from Sunprod gets them back to safety. Instead, let's just target the rebound chick, I guess. Leave her alone, man. She's got enough pressure on the table.
Want to check back in with this Scylla pick for support. Because we know it's a King Bop Bop favorite, but we haven't really had an opportunity to see it utilized to the fullest extent I believe that it's capable of. So I'm wondering if maybe those 5v5 team fights are when King Bop Bop will really have a chance to shine. We know they're a very capable player. We've seen them play just earlier today. And this Scylla was so powerful that it got target banned away from them. But now that it's in their hands, it feels a little bit lackluster. So we're waiting for a few items to come online. The Magi's will be picked up. They got the Spirit Robe Yogi's combination. Again, nigh unkillable. They have so much regen between Yogis and Prophetic. Or not Prophetic, Spirit Robe. But we just don't have the damage in pocket. Think about the team as a whole.
Thinking about it.
Holy Glows. They don't have things like the Merlin damage that's so easily applied. You're running off of the birds. As Sunprod walks up to an Ancient Gold Fury, Yeah, I don't think he would have stepped to that. Maybe you do?
We'll find out shortly. Sunprod takes a quick leap over that wall. Right side. Karmic under a bit of pressure, but the Eagles rally ensures they're able to get back safely to Tegvir's clutches. Sunprod, though, still wants to make the steal. I think you might be having your life stolen away instead as Paul looks to give chase. Ancient Gold Fury easily ripped away here by Clocked In, and nothing gained on the right side except maybe an FG. This is an audacious call. Some good zoning being applied by John Rowing. Drops all 3 lashes on top of Tegvir for a bit of extra poke. The Crush finds the mark even where the Sikkim doesn't. That FG, though, a bit overly ambitious. They're not going to be able to commit to that call.
Now this does open up the possibility for an FG from Clocked In, but they just got that Gold Fury. They want to back and spend some of that gold. That'll give me a little bit of time to finish what I was thinking about before. Basically, the long and the short of it is that the damage that Holy Glows is able to apply, they're not able to apply it as easily as Clocked In. They don't have giant circles. They don't have, you know, the Kali autos that tear through everybody when she's using her ultimate. They've got an Artemis and an Aphrodite and an Odin. And the Odin is going to be building kind of tanky as well. So your big booms come from Globe and from Kaiveka. But that's a lot of single target damage, or, you know, maybe you catch 1 or 2 people. So when you do finally catch people in that cage, you don't have as much of an opportunity to actually kill somebody. Clocked In doesn't suffer from that problem. They have a healthy mix of single target and AoE damage. Paul's got AoE covered in spades. Tegvir can absolutely flex between the two, but they are built to kill 1 person at a time. Karmic can kill 1 person, and Hydrogen can do both. So it's a tough spot. Is this a double kill?
Right now for the Kali. Leaps back in aggressively, still gets tagged down Globe, and might even look for Sunprod right after. I don't need to be indestructible to still never die. 2v1 easily taken away by Hydrogen.
And the Pyromancer to boot from Clocked In. So it's just all sunshine and rainbows for that side of the table. Hydrogen, the scaling pick from Kali, she's online. Titan's Bane, Haste of Vitalis, Sunbeam Bow, Audibo. Boom, done. She's ready to kill any and anybody who just stands in front of her, but it looks like we want to take a bite out of John Rowing.
The support's not even going to be on the front lines. Instead, John Rowing dies with their ultimate in pocket. You never even had a chance to split your pain. Instead, it's all felt by their own shame. John Rowing dead, but nonetheless, the tanky legacy lives on in the form of King Bop Bop, pulled right back in. Sentries out to attempt to find safety. Sorry, little girl, you've been grounded. Karmic takes him out.
Fire Giant gets bombed and gets confirmed by Clocked In. So once again, this Clocked In Supremacy team is going to have a chance to run it down in their respective lanes, and they've got the Ancient Gold Fury debuff ticking away at a couple of T2s and a T1. Credit to Karmic. Or rather, credit to John Rowing for being able to hold on to that tower for as long as they did. But I do feel that we're at a stage where Holy Glows is going to slowly but surely get picked off unless Clocked In screws up. And I don't know about you, D'Lo, but I remember last game. Did Clocked In
They didn't screw up?
No, they usually don't screw up. That's not something that generally happens. So how do you take an aggressive stance? How do you be proactive? How do you take control of the game? You find somebody and you pick them off. It's just trying to force some sense of false isolation on top of a player who's standing maybe a little bit too cocky, maybe a little bit too anxious. Try to find them and take them off the board.
23 minutes in, 14-3. A far cry from what you'd expect from this legendary matchup, the Clash of the Titans, and about 14,000 ahead here for Clocked In as well. It's just going to continue to go that way. But Tegvir could be a great shutdown to have. CC immunity will not save you. Kaiveka takes them down just as soon as the tier 2 and left drops. Karmic as well presents themselves as a worthy target. Not one that they seem to want to bite at because the rest of the team is lurking. And this Balone is at damn near full health. Eagles rally on in. The waves come crashing up. It's a shell applied and gonna be going to hell in a second. Bye, bye, bye. Shell. Vi's already dead. It's going to be 2 more on top. King Bop Bop gets bopped right back to base. A triple kill for Paul. 4 members dead for 30 seconds. Clocked In are looking to finish the job.
You want to talk about a Balone that just lives forever? They've got the Spirit Robe, they've got a Death's Embrace, and a Fire Giant buff. Never dying, not even once. Clocked In, set up a trap, and
goodbye.
Bring it. Down goes John Rowing. Down goes Speak No Evil. and the Titan as
Sure.
well. I mean, they just it was a trap of a lifetime. Offer up Tagbeer and just swoop in on everybody else through the backside. It was just a ridiculous amount of damage, a crazy amount of sustain. Like I said, clocked in, they take the FG and they're just going to be able to run it down.
There's so much to talk about here in terms of the implications, just in what we saw from that game, but also for the future of this best-of-3 set. But we're going to have to wait to get there. Don't you dare go anywhere. Game 2, as well as the recap of Game 1, coming at you right after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime Grand Finals on the scene, where the plays are always premium. D-Lo here behind the mic, joined by Musi, as we get to see a bit of a rehash of the Grand Finals of last circuit. It's a bit of a different flavor, though, with the supports in mind. Of course, you have Tess and Morton Man, Almighty Eyes in the Sky, Jithin's basically Billy behind the curtain, and some replays coming at you in just a moment. Now, this was an interesting story here, Musi, because, again, it's how well does the rebound girl do in filling up those shoes? This game around, that Scylla, maybe not chomping the way you wanted to. More bark, less bite.
It felt like overall the composition was a little bit, I don't want to use the word muddied, but it didn't come together as well as Clocked In's comp came together. And just that when Sunprod fell behind, a lot of the momentum for that team just didn't have a chance to really get going. And Holy Globes was relying on Sunprod to be ahead so that they could have reliably get damage from their Odin, reliably get these Odin Cades getting out there, and the Afro just didn't do anything. It was not nearly as effective as Merlin.
This kill right here, or rather double kill from Hydrogen, an aggressive leap back on, gets you a ton more health, and then allows you to finish off the rest. That right there, in my opinion, was the dagger. Didn't even need to see the rest of the game from that point, but we still appreciate the fact that Gloast gave it the best college try. Now, I think you're right in the fact that we just put too much on Sunprod's shoulders. There was so much pressure for the Odin to snowball, and then from behind, it just didn't really do anything but keel over. We saw that same story last game round when Clocked In faced a similar composition, right? They say, we know how to deal with this Odin. Upset it early game. You gave us Susano back, so there's no issue. And like you also have called out, we need to see that either banned or picked up by Prod himself.
You cannot let it run back again. Tagveer is too comfortable with this pick, way too good at it to let that go through. I might also leave the Scylla support on the wayside for a little bit, just because I wasn't seeing enough to really convince me to prioritize it as strongly as we did. If you pick the Scylla again, it should be 4th or 5th slot. Like, yes, it was not worth picking it so early. I think you had a crazy good call out when you were like, who is going to take that from you? Like, it's like when you see that little cat eat all that big bowl of food with such ferocity, you're like, little bro, no one is taking it from you. You can have it. You don't have to stress out. I want to tell you where the stress should be. You want to talk about how crazy Tagveer was going? Paul's 10-0.
That's just like that. The thing about Merlin is, and especially when it's Paul's Merlin, it's 10-0, and then you don't realize that until you come back here to the slash lines. Because it's not a god with flashy ultimates. It's not a god that's going to shine gold and do some crazy big flashy move. No, it just naturally whittles you down. It can be quick, it can be slow. It whittles you down nonetheless. 27k player damage. That nearly doubles who the top is on the side of Gloast, which is John Rowing, who really never got to see their time to shine. They were keeping even pace with Karmic that entire time, and I was like, okay, maybe Nemesis does something here. It did nothing, man. It instantly got popped without even getting to use that ultimate. So I agree with what you just said. We don't need to get super creative, and if we do with the picks, save it till later. Because what are you doing when you pick that Scylla top lock? You gave the Merlin over to Paul. That's one of the picks that you could have locked for yourself early. Instead, you went for the Afro, which doesn't really work out with the sustained heals if you're burst down in the blink of an eye.
And I do feel that maybe the Odin isn't quite what we want to see again, just because it looks like Clocked In know how to play around it. And if you do want to have that Odin, maybe try to put it over in the solo lane or something like that, just because I want to see Sunprod on a pick where they can get really aggressive really quickly, maybe even something like a Loki.
We'll find out as we hippity-hop into these P's and B's. Yeah, maybe shift over from the Allfather to the next generation, which is what these players on Glowstar, they are the next generation. We have some old talent and new talent from Clocked In, but on the side of Glowst, it's a lot of faces that have emerged in the advent of Smite 2 to get to this big grand stage they now stand upon. So, first pick over to Glowst. Who does it gotta be? Susano. Force Clocked In to ban away one of their best tools, and that's gonna feel good.
You could look for Susano. You might have been able to look for something like an Aladdin if it gets through there too. If you're Clocked In, I would maybe leave a few other picks open for first pick to make it look that much more appealing, that much more appetizing, so that then you can maybe get the Susano for yourself. But Glowst is either banning Susano within the next 2 bans or instantly picking it, or Clocked In is just going to take it off the board and say, no, nobody can have this. Nobody is allowed to put that in the back pocket. I like this Agni ban as well too from Clocked In, just because I feel like that's a direct call out to Kaveka. Just put them off their foot, because I didn't think the Artemis was able to do that much either. It felt like Glowst was kind of off their game as a whole. Like, nobody really had a chance to shine. Nobody had a chance to perform.
No one's getting the Ares today, I'll tell you that much. That's not a first pick that we can even afford. That'd be really good bait to hold over their head, but it's like, all right, not that. It's too juicy, all right? We don't want to see you actually run that. Merlin ban, I was wondering going to see that. And then what that tells me is they're going to look for the top block Susano. It's banned away, though. So what do you have? Kali, that's available.
Kali for Kaveka, that would be pretty good. I feel like Hydrogen was looking really saucy on that Kali pick, so I don't want to give that back to them. Chalk, though, for John Rowan, I'm a big fan. It could be mid. Globe has been known to operate on that Chalk mid, so it's a good flex pick. But there are still things like the Pele available for Paul if they want to look at something like that. You also have the Kali that's still available for Hydrogen, actually. Yeah, there it was locked in. And that Karmic will be able to run back the Baron Samdi. So really good start for Clocked In, honestly.
I'm debating. Do I want to see Shock go to mid? I think I do. I think I want to see them play that comfortably. And also, John Rowing, I feel like, executes well on Cab. I'd like to see Cab. I want Cab to go against this Baron Samdi. Because... Oh, yeah, he's banned.
He's banned. Yeah, that stinks. Tragic.
That's unfortunate. Okay, then would we prioritize instead? I'd say not that Scylla. Not that Scylla. I'm not going to lie to you. I am deeply upset by this because, again, not that it's necessarily bad. You start off your early game very well. Pairing up with the Hoi also is very solid, but they're not going to take it from you. I don't know why you're so worried that they're going to start running Scylla support when we've never seen that from their team.
Are they worried about Paul playing Scylla mid? I don't know why they would, because they're just going to lock in that Ullr again.
Yikes.
And the emoji for Speak No E. Here's Clocked In team. We saw this in the last set, and it owned really hard. So this is going to be a tough ask from Glowst to be able to fight against it, because think already, why are we initiating fights? How are we starting them off? Chalk can maybe get in there with their ultimate. They can stand out there, be super forever tanky. Yes, you have a root from Scylla. We need a hard engaged jungler. We need somebody who can start a fight and really get it going, because without it, it's going to be super hard. Hoonbats might be good. A Fear No Evil. You got the stun. I like a Sobek pick here. Oh, it's a Scylla mid.
Okay. Wait. Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on a second. No, I don't think. I'm not going to lie, Musi. Actually, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it's Scylla support. I think it's, and then Sobek. It's Sobek solo. I think it's Sobek solo. Okay. Why are you hovering Rom? Stop.
I don't know. It's saucy.
Don't mess with us here. We know that Kali is going to be a carry. They're just waiting on what they're going to rock, which is that Nemesis. That's always what we go to next, because it's, again, most mobile pick in the game. Not Susano. Nemesis is a great second option.
I mean, even for Clocked In's composition, there's a bit of potential flexibility, but just knowing what we saw in the last set, I'm going to assume Paul mid, Paul mid, Ullr mid, Kali over there in the dual lane. You got Baron solo, Tagvir rock the Nemesis, Speak No Evil with Yamoja. I think you're right. Chalk mid, Sobek solo, Scylla support does feel like the way that they want to operate with that. Okay. And I like that, but when the Sobek's going to show up too late for fights, he's over in solo lane.
Well, we saw already game one. It didn't go too well for our biblical boys. Maybe the New Testament and the new game is where they have their claim to fame. Let's hop in and find out where the roles are going to be, because that's what we've all got our eyes out. Musi, I'm closing my eyes. What do we see?
Oh, it's
A pause?
a pause. Well,
Well
I got a little bit of a glimpse there. While you had your eyes closed,
I
I
actually didn't
saw
see,
it
yeah.
was Shock solo, Scylla mid,
What?
and King Bop Bop with the Sobek. So
Are you lying to me?
I like it.
No
No, I'm not
fooling?
lying. I would never fool
Okay.
you, not even once, not even twice. Not even a third time,
So-
not even a thrice.
I really appreciate your honesty there, your veracity. So, all right, my friend, let's talk about that then. That's interesting. Do we think that what that switch up offers you was worth top locking that Scylla then?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird spot to be in. Knowing that we're gonna put the Scylla in the mid, I think, you know what, maybe it is kind of worth it still. Because it's the mind
Sure.
game. We just saw King
Yes.
Bop Bop Prio pick the Scylla support. So Clocked In are looking at that and going, cool, there's the Scylla support. What do we need to fight against the Scylla support? Well, you can go Yamojo, we get the Nemesis going, and then you see like, oh, Sobek Loki. Oh, okay, very nice. So I like having Scylla in the mid lane more than support at this stage too, because
I
we
agree.
get giant AoE damage, right? And then we got the bonk combo, like you said, caveman combo, circles on circles on circles, Shock, Scylla, Ho Yi, boom. And you have
That's
good
true.
single target damage as well between Loki and Sobek being able to pluck somebody out into a Scylla root, into a crush, into a Ho Yi stun. So I like the flexibility a lot more from Holy Glows this time around.
Here's what I'm worried about,
Ooh.
dude. Whose training wheels are better? Whose dad bought them the better bike, right? Scylla, Sikkim. Uller, Axe. And there's great things on each side to enable it. Pluck from Sobek, Yamoja's done from Moonstrike. Whose tools do you think are better to enable their mid to pop off more?
I will say Clocked In CC is going to be a little bit stronger because it's long range and non-committal. And I think that in turn is going to make it so that those training wheels are going to be a bit easier, a bit better. Because think about it. You got a Baron Root, you got the Uller Axe, Yamoja Moonstrike, and even Nemesis and Kali to an extent, more looking at Nemesis like slice and dice. You know, maybe you don't have to be right on top of somebody in order to get off that slow. Whereas Sobek actively puts himself out of position in order to get that pluck.
Yeah.
Scylla Root, I mean, if we're talking about in terms of training wheels, Scylla Root can set up quite a bit, but she's mostly looking to set up herself more than anybody else. So I think overall Clocked In CC is going to be a bit stronger just off the virtue that they don't have to stress out as much if they end up missing it. They're going to be okay because they're in a good position.
Well, we're in a good position to get back into game here and finally certify that we got these picks. Musi didn't lie to me. That's a big relief. I was really nervous there for a second. Game 2 coming here for the grand
I'm known
finals.
to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, this guy, big liar over here. Liar, pants on fire, you'd even say.
Betrayer
But right
of
now,
friends.
Clocked In are the ones with the hot hand. And if they take this, they take the finals. It's a best of 3. Father, Son, Holy Ghost, just trying to get on the board. And I'm curious. We have seen this comp before from Clocked In. It's a different beast from Gloast. What is their overall team comp strategy? Are they trying to dominate the early, or are they waiting till the late?
You have a fair amount of aggression, mostly from your dueling is where I'm looking, because the Kali has to scale in order to get to that late game damage that they're so used to having. And so because a very aggressive support to have within the first few levels of the game, especially that early execute when they hit level 5. But Holy Glost's main damage, that Scylla, needs to get to late game before she can even start throwing out numbers like Paul can on this Uller. So it feels like Holy Ghost is going to be taking an early aggressive stance in the dual lane, but when it comes to mid and, you know, solo lane, shouldn't be too much happening over there. They're just going to try to slow that down so we can give time and space to Globe to get online. The real question is going to be, where is Sun Prod going to go? Ideally, like from a macro standpoint, until Gold Fury shows up, you don't really have a reason to be over in left lane. So maybe you take that opportunity to try to make sure that Globe and Rowing have a chance to be able to get their stuff online so they can just go to clear wave and then not have to worry about too much after the fact, and then just hard focus with King Bop Bop and Kai Vega and really try to get some kills going.
Well, Paul's already got the relics going, forces the beads off of Sunprod. Worth noting they do have that purification instead of the Aegis this go around, whereas on the other side of the spectrum, you see Ullr is rocking that Aegis, clearly afraid of what that I'm a Monster can do to you. Beads forced out there as well by the Kali, likely in response to a solid charge spray from King Bop Bop. So less than 2 minutes in, we're already seeing quite a bit of big resources being taken off the board.
And when it comes to Duel Lane, the Pluck to Mark Stun combo that comes out of Bop Bop and Kaiveka are very dangerous for, Clocked In to try to deal with. So pulling out those beads from Hydrogen does give an opportunity to maybe go for that again.
Oh no. Charge Prey, this time to escape, forces Kaiveka to eat a lot of damage in the interim period. But the buff does get secured, and the kill as well. On to Globe. First blood going to Paul. That's just where you want to see it if you're a Clocked In fan.
And Scylla's going to have a tough time getting away from Paul CC. You have to, when you throw out Zoe, you have to wait for it to go out before you can start teleporting over there. That's more than enough time for Paul specifically to land an axe. That's all the time he needs. And Tagveer with that slice and dice is going to deal a ridiculous amount of damage to follow up on that. And Scylla's not going to be able to stand up to it. She doesn't have the damage. She doesn't have the survivability. She's waiting to get to that late game. So Clocked In is going to be forcing this early pressure, this early aggression on top of this mid lane specifically so that they can really get Paul ahead.
10-0. I see it right now, flashing in lights. Paul so far deathless in this entire series, and seems they're going to be looking for that exact same mojo this time around. Aggression around this gold buff. It's quickly eked out there, thanks to a solid leap from Kaiveka to get back out. The Scimitars all find their mark, and Tagveer actually opting to TP up this left side, maybe trying to do what you asked, but from the other side of the team spectrum and pressure this duo.
Purple buff is coming up on the left side, so Clocked In could make a play to try to steal away Holy Ghosts, but it looks like Tagveer is more interested in just securing their own side camps. You know that speed buff's going to be coming up online, but King Bop Bop is so low, so it looks like Clocked In should be able to go for an invade on that purple.
Feels bad just to already be down without seeing too much flurry or fight, especially when your dual lane's supposed to be the aggressors, not the aggressees. Have the Loki as well, maybe trying to make a sidewinding pinch, but the invade has already been committed. That's going to force Sunprod away. And we're seeing that same story. Level 5 difference already secured by Tagveer. It might not be Susano, but history tends to repeat itself.
Sunprod's not level 5 yet. Still level 4, arguing around that blue buff. That's a go-in for Clocked.
Yeah, no assassination means no safety, but at the very least Globe can dissuade you with the zoning tools in that Sikkim Crush combo. Red buff invade, though, that feels bad to potentially lose. Baron making the rotation as well to ensure everything goes hunky-dory. Loki's still fighting against the Paul in the mid lane as well. That's not going well for you. No training wheels needed. Look, Dad, no hands. I can ride my bike without an issue. Sunprod got to ride that assassination station right back to mid lane to ensure they stay alive. And it's the same story here at left. All tilt retreat from Ghost across the map.
So much aggression from everybody, except for, solo lane, where Karmic and John Rowing are just, they're singing the song instead of slamming on the keyboards. And then beads pulled from Kali. It's so interesting how this game still has people going for fights. Here's the gang from Prod.
No level 5 from the dual lane, but Sunprod's a different story. Great Moonstrike, though. Speak no evil. Stands on 10 toes, says, I'm just better. You should have kept me around, sucker. I'm not a ring chaser. I'm a ring maker.
Dude, Umoja does so much damage. So much damage. And if you don't respect it, that's exactly what's going to happen to you. But Bop Bop and Kaiveka were already low from scrapping with Speak No Evil and Hydrogen. And they were looking to try to pincer them in. They even called in Prod, but this Loki just hasn't had a chance to go off. The ultimate didn't find the mark it was looking for. And they didn't have that explosive potential that they needed in order to put down Hydrogen and Speak No Evil. This is a really rough start for Holy Ghost. They have to try to maintain the pace here and get level 5 in your dual lane. Try to get some farm online. You need to make sure that you're in a position to stand up to Gold Fury when Clocked In decides to start taking a look at it. Tagveer hasn't even graced the dual lane with his presence yet, by the way. Still hasn't come over. So that threat is still there. And Paul is going to have a chokehold on this mid lane until Globe is able to get some items online.
6 minutes in, 0-3 goose egg there for Gloast. As Clocked In are able to leverage about 3k gold lead across the map. And that's without a Gold Fury. No Gold Fury has been taken. Instead, it's going to be Tegveer looking to continue to assert pressure on this left side of the map. Frame 1 hover. Going to be able to get Kaiveka back beneath that tower. It's a rotation coming in from Globe. You might be wandering right into an ambush. Seems like Globe recognizes it as well. But the Gold Fury with 3 members present and Paul potentially able to rotate as well. No, she's going to look for the purple buff instead. Seems that we're looking to fight over that, though. The double dash right through the portal, and a great pluck forces out some beads. Able to eke their way around the first sun, but we're still trying to get the damage off. I'm a Monster finds the reset and gets the double off. Speak No Evil will fall as well. King Bop Bop rebounds on top, and now Gloast can look for their first gold.
This is a super good rotation from everybody from Holy Gloast. Gloast together, strong. Should earn yourselves a Gold Fury, and that is what they needed in order to kind of fix their mentals and put themselves back in a winning position of the game, not only from like a kills perspective, but from a gold perspective as well. You don't want to let Clocked In start spiraling out of control. But I think we just had a little bit of a sneak peek into the 5v5 team fight that Holy Gloast have.
Yes!
And I really like their team fight. The ultimate from Sunprod catching 2 people. You have Globe that's able to immediately follow up with I'm a Monster. If they can replicate that magic, that fight scenario, they should be able to win a significant majority of the fights with Clocked In. But you have to remember that Clocked In was operating with 3 people there and not 2. Karmic wasn't in that fight, and Paul wasn't in that fight either. And you can imagine once they start joining, it's going to get really dicey.
One thing that I want us to keep a lookout for, one, that damage from Speak No Evil. He just did that by himself,
Almost
by the way.
solo Globe, by the way. Jeez.
That's a support, by the way. Top of the player damage charts, by the way. Yeah. Let's just pause. Let's pause everything I was saying and talk about that. This is a statement. This entire circuit is. Speak No Evil got a ring in the last circuit and says, you know what? I'm the man. They're LeBron going over to the Miami Heat. They're going actually back to Cleveland to win them a ring. And they're going to make any team they step up to superstar team. They are going to make them instantly in the top echelon because that's just how good the support is. You talked about in the very first series today, a support isn't meant to support all the time. Sometimes it's meant to carry. Speak No Evil embodies that concept. Now John Rowing maybe needs to embody that same thing themselves. Eats up the stun through their own CC immunity, but Nemesis is going to slice and dice you on up. John Rowing on the butcher counter.
Clocked In, immediately bouncing back off of looting that fight around the Gold Fury. Now they want to take a look at Sunprod surging forward, but can they lock it in?
The bouncing bubble forces Sunprod to stop what they were doing on the Cyclops camp because it's got so much range, so much damage. Ultimate forced out from the Sobek to go beneath the rushing waters with the lurking ones. But it is at least going to guarantee the lives of the members of Gloast that were still present. That fight right there just proves to me, and just the damage and the audacity of this support shows that maybe you should have banned out the Emoja too.
I mean, it's kind of hard to ban out Speak No Evil at this point because they just look good at everything that they touch at this time. Like, I don't even know if you ban away Emoja, what else do you want to give Speak No Evil? Bacchus? You want to deal with the Speak No Evil Bacchus? I'm not even sure. It's disgusting. This player is so good, and they're only getting better with time. I don't think your rebound girlfriend's gonna pan out for you, Gloast. I think you might beg for your knees. Take me back.
Yeah, that's the one that got away right there. Globe barely able to get away thanks to some beads on their side. And man, that just feels bad. You're looking at pictures, you know, old photos, the two of you. Google reminds you this was you a year ago, happy and smiling with Speak No Evil holding up that MVP trophy. And now you look back at yourself covered in Cheeto dust. Everything reminds me of her. You look at a glass of water. Everything reminds me of Emoja. Oh, God. All right, so at the very least, usually we'll say one thing is good.
Everything reminds me of murder.
One thing is good for Gloast. This team comp doesn't necessarily need to win the early game. It's looking for the late.
This is true. Like, Globe is super scaling with this Scylla. And Hydrogen might be in a bit of trouble here. No, you have Speak No Goated right around the corner there. But Rod and Globe are really trying to get to that late game to just find somebody and pick them off the board. You're going to have crazy late game with those 2 damage carries. Shock is the scaling character as well.
Oh,
Prod's
God.
dead.
Sun Prods exploded. Paul just instantly takes them off the board. It's a good cripple to get yourself to safety, but watch out. Speak No Coded around the corner. Hip hops away. The job's been done. I forced out your ultimate. Hee hee ha ha.
We're going to ult those back camps and really show them who's boss. Be able to get that damage off, but that is going to open up
Harpies.
the floor for Gold Fury. Globe's still in danger because look who rotated. Karmic's here now. Now Bop's down too.
Trouble here for the Sobek. Globe, I don't know why you're sticking around at this point. You really can't do much other than try to reset while the Gold Fury just gets ripped away. Clocked in. Find an objective of their own. The pit no longer in favor here of the replacing support. It's a good after party to try to suck them back in there. Waiting for the stun. Outlast the lurking waters, and King Bop Bop gets put on a poster by Tegvir.
Ghost is just all over the map. They're all over the board. They're getting caught out. Whereas Clocked In are so well coordinated. They got picked off once by that, buff camp on the left side and said never again. They find themselves with a Pyromancer as well. Holy Glows need to find a bit of that coordination that we were seeing in the last time that we saw them on the big screen. They have to match how Clocked In is moving across the map. They have the capability, they have the damage potential to kill somebody, to find these picks. But they always feel so separated. Sunprod goes in by himself on that bush and gets blown up. Globe gets chased away. While that's happening, King Bop Bop is standing against, 2-3 people trying to get something going at a Gold Fury. And then ults after Karmic, it feels like we're all on different pages of different books.
Got a pluck on, but yeah, Kaiveka doesn't seem ready for that call. Now the rocking waves come up, no lurking waters available. They're just gonna fight beneath the waters instead. Storm Call comes on top. We're finally trying to put down Speak No Evil, but that Yemoja is thick. King Bop Bop does not have enough tough hide for that shark skin to stay alive, and the Shock's got to make their early exit too, but back into enemy territory. I do not think things will end well for you there. Nem ult, apply the slow on top. Shock going to be making that long rowboat right back to base.
And this is again what I'm talking about, where you have Holy Glows finally kind of group up together and go for something, but who's the target? We end up putting a lot into Speak No Evil, but they have the Life Weaver, they've got the Regrow Striders, so they give themselves a little bit of a movement speed. Oh, I'm healing. Oh, I heal myself. Oh, I'm movement. It's so crazy what this character is able to build and just how long they're able to live. While Hydrogen goes almost completely unnoticed. And now Kaiveka is going to be the one that gets turned around because of a solo lane rotation. Clocked In are just one step ahead of the game.
2 levels up as well in the dual lane. This Kali didn't really show itself until you saw that 2v1, right? And I think Hydrogen's okay with that. Hydrogen doesn't mind being a background character, staying behind the curtain just like Billy and Jithens. Paul, though, likes to show out, and show out they will on top of Globe. Gets one more solo dolo, now 3-0. Yemoja steps in alongside them. It's a fight flurrying around in the left side jungle. One that Kaiveka does not wish to be a part of. Can't quite blame them for it. Pyro Bomb weakening that tier 2 in the mid lane, while Hydrogen makes quick work of that tier 1 in the left. Across the board is looking good, but a good pluck could answer back. Unfortunately, can't reach that execute threshold. In fact, your head might be on the chopping block. King Bop Bop's got to get back to base.
Yeah, you're never killing Speak No Evil in a million years unless you have a little bit more damage up there. Shut down on top of Paul.
Nice work there with the Suns. Kaiveka takes advantage of Paul feeling a bit too confident. It's only 3 kills in their pocket, but these are impactful kills. They're finding impactful targets so far. If you can honestly replicate that success, just wait for Clocked In to make that mistake. We talked about it last game and last series, how you're going to wait for that moment for them to take a step out of line. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, you damn sure better make sure that you're capitalizing.
If there's ever somebody to kill, I think, Paul, you're right, is going to be one of those people that we want to try to take down. Kaiveka getting the shutdown gold, a god that's going to be reliant on their gold scaling their items in order to be the most effective. I think it couldn't have gone to a better person. Maybe Sunprod, but it's still a huge point for Ghost, and it will cause Clocked In to maybe hesitate a little bit before they go any further. And so far, the gold difference is pretty significant between the two teams, but it's not to such a level where Ghost can't fight back, but this is going to be tough.
Oh, no. Gonna miss that Sikkim. No. Nonetheless, Nemesis does turn back, maybe fearing the potential for enemies to be waiting in the wings. Understandable. Meanwhile, Sun Prod has to quickly get back into the wings of their Scylla, awaiting them in the back line. Both ultimates of the Loki and Baron going to be expended for that. And Tegvir just solos down Pyromancer with some Naga assistance. Nice.
Not only are we looking at Pyromancer, we're also grouping up for gold. So, because we see that the gold is being picked up, Pyromancer does get confirmed by Tegvir. It'll go uncontested. Goldfear's going to fall down to about 2k, and John Rowing is going to walk up.
Gets the axe, does not want to commit any further to it, so Hydrogen will rip it away in favor of Clocked In. This gold lead is spiraling. And again, I say there's one hope. It's your late game scaling. But there's a limit. There's a limit of how much you can bounce back from. Your elasticity is going to get torn to its very limit. And you're on the edge right now. I think you're dancing on the razor's blade. And you've got to make sure that you're still not leaving all these objectives for free. The Suns come crashing down. The Collies already used that leap, and Hydrogen's all out of air.
So that's another important kill for Kaveka there. I don't think Hydrogen was quite ready to respect the amount of damage that this Hou Yi was capable of. And we're talking about how, you know, Ghost has so much late game scaling. You have to know that Clocked In's got it too. But it lies in Hydrogen, who is currently kind of getting smacked around a little bit by Kaveka, who's super locked in the moment over in that dual lane. But like Paul and Karmic will only get better with time as well. So it is kind of a give and take when it comes to getting towards that late game. Who is going to have the bigger boom? Who's going to have the most impact? I'm really looking at Glow. I'm really looking at this Scylla to just power farm, get to level 20, get your items online, and start one-shotting people.
You top locked it for a reason. The training wheels, maybe a bit too shaky there. Paul does not find the axe. An uncharacteristic miss from the Ullr. Again, you tried to approach with this gimmick game 1, and then you tried to fool them with the gimmick game 2. You've got to make it work. This pick cannot be all in vain, or else you've really sacrificed some of the top tools the meta could offer you just for a bit of a gotcha moment. All right, now the gotcha moment's around this blue buff. It's good Sikkim. The axe immediately in response, but it only finds John Rowing, who's awfully tanky. I'm a monster. Tries to look for a big bite on top of Paul. Instead, decides to neglect it. Has no stomach for this fight, but does drop a good two-man crush. It's great pluck as well. On to Speak No Evil. Execute Threshold has been obtained as long as it can stick around for a bit more time. King Bop Bop gets the first course on top of Speak No Evil. The Suns begin to crash down. The Baron as well. Paul plucking away from them at a distance. Takes down King Bop Bop alongside the other frontline, John Rowing. It was a good fight to start, but unfortunately expended a lot of resources into the tankiest target.
Sunprod wasn't there for the engagement. He's split pushing over in the left side while Clocked In takes a look at that Fire Giant. So you're going to trade a tier 2 tower for FG. I don't know about that, honestly. Down goes the FG for Clocked In. They'll be able to have that dagger as well. And Tegvir will show off to stop Prod from pushing any further towards that Phoenix. If Prod was in that fight, I think Holy Ghost would have had the damage to find a bit more than just Speak No Evil.
Yeah. I think they might win it. I think they might have just won the fight outright. I think Sunprod is getting a bit too nervous from that last game. So you got to steal your nerves. You've got to overcome. Swallow that pride, swallow that shame, and instead just put it all in on black. Let it ride. Spin that roulette wheel, baby. 20 minutes, 5 to 10. We found some kills for Ghost. We found some momentum. But we're still waiting for that late game to pop up. 8K behind. Doesn't feel good. FG on all 4 members, and this is what we were talking about Series 1. Speak No Evil dies there, but they die for the good of the entire team. King Bop Bop's performing better this game, but we still need to see the Sobek step up to the level, the gigantic shoes that Evil left.
We need to find a pick onto Paul or a pick onto Tegvir. Remember that if Tegvir tries to use their shield in front of a Sobek, they can tail whip, they can pluck to get rid of that shield. Down goes the Pyromancer. Clocked In will have that, but it looks like Sunprod's getting chased out by Tegvir. You could turn that around on top of Nemesis. The rest of Ghost is on the way.
Issue is, I will say, no aspect for Nem. She's going for straight damage, slice and dice, but instantly has to double dash back to safety, recognizing there is none here in the left lane. A Storm Call. Those Nagas are not the same as actual player-operated characters. In fact, they're on the way, but only to watch Tegvir go down. Sunprod barely stays alive. Can you stand beneath the rivers? No. Speak no evil. Make sure that he drowns in it. The Suns come on down. Does a bit of damage there to Paul, but a dagger in hand. Awfully scary sight here for Globe, who instantly says, I gotta get out of here. King Bop Bop gets us to the easy way. Paul, though, dissuaded by the crush, it would seem. Left side, though, Kaiveka not going to be able to find refuge. And with that, Paul sees another shark, or rather another minnow, for them to take their teeth and close them around. Going to try to get a bit of damage before they go down at the very least, but go down they shall. Kaiveka will fall and use their beads beforehand.
The mid Phoenix died to Hydrogen while Hydrogen was killing King Bop Bop by the by. The moment where Gloast is able to find and isolate somebody, the rest of Clocked In shows up immediately after. Down goes the tier 2 and left. We're staring down at left side. Phoenix is gonna go down, Clocked In, do so much damage. If they stagger kills here, that might be the game.
We're staring down a grand finals victory at this point. That hail of arrows chunked Globe for a third of their bar. Best step up, best respect it. Paul is nearly unkillable. 5-1 on this Ullr, by the way. Yuck. And now Karmic's part of these fights, too, who is level 20. John Rowing's level 16. Yikes. Ancient Fury on the mark here for Clocked In.
It's going to hit the left side Phoenix and the tier 2 and the solo side. The level differences are really starting to rear their head here. Because, like you said, 4 levels up is the solo laner for Clocked In, but the supports also have a pretty significant difference. Speaking of Evil's up about 3 levels. And we mentioned before, all the way at the start of today, about how the support is going to be the foundation for your team. If there are cracks in that foundation, it's really going to start the show. It's going to start flooding, right? And yeah, I think we're starting to see some cracks for Gloast. Not necessarily putting it all on King Bop Bop here, but just the cohesion does not match what Clocked In is capable of.
Great auto attack cancels coming out there from Tegvir. Forces the ult, forces the beads. That might not even save you. This man is mobile. I'm a monster, just cosmetic, has to watch and still misses the grander ability in the back line. Though Hoi Yi applies their damage shortly before they exit stage left. King Bop Bop attracts enough their attention to maybe keep the Hoi Yi safe, but Ullr is in hot pursuit and has all the tools necessary to hack them apart. Fight beneath the tier 2 as the waves begin to rise up. King Bop Bop's got no ult to escape, nor do they want to. Whereas now, in this right side, Paul narrowly wins the 1v1, though Kaiveka did get a solid amount of damage. Baron balls him back in for the slice and dicing to begin. This Shock's got a Storm Call their way back to safety. Does at least manage to keep the front line alive. Both only Globe there to do the damage, has to instantly sentry away from that axe. It's not looking the best, especially with an aggressive charge Bray. No one inside execute threshold within the waters. Instead, it's just more heals for the Baron and a tier 2 for Clocked In.
Clocked In know that the Fire Giant is going to be coming up again soon, so they're going to opt to take a look at that. Sunprod getting picked off right at the start of the fight. Scylla, I'm a monster, not being able to find the right targets. These are the things that cause teamfights to spiral out of control and enable Clocked In to just look for more and more and more. These tiny mistakes add up so quickly. You have to start stemming that bleeding. It's going to be a Pyromancer for Clocked In. They're going to back and reset, spend some gold before taking a look at that FG. I wonder if they bait in Gloast the same way that they did in game 1, where you just start setting up around this Fire Giant, you start hitting it a couple of times, all of a sudden Speak No Evil has got everybody trapped inside of River's Rebuke, and then everyone's dead, right? And nobody's tanky enough. Like, the fact that John Rowing is so far behind, they don't have the tank to survive.
Goodbye.
Sunprod picked up again. That is a bad spot for Gloast. That is the tiny mistake that enables you to lose this FG. We're in Hail Mary territory right now, D'Lo. We gotta pray to something that Clocked In lets us get to a game 3, because they have an FG, and they're gonna start walking it down.
Shell stocks have plummeted. Spirits are down in the dirt. There doesn't seem to be any good defensive tools for Holy Glows to stay alive. It's, again, a comp that wants to play ahead, and they have never found themselves in that privileged position instead. So if you're on the back end, how do you start these fights? 2 Magi's cloaks for Clocked In. They seem immune to everything you want to throw at them.
Kit dump and hope that it kills somebody. You have to not die too, Globe. You need to stay alive.
You're the team mascot, buddy. We top locked this Scylla for a reason, but Shock's going to be the first one to go with Storm Call. Keeps them safe from the CC, but these blades are still for free. Takes them down, courtesy of Hydrogen. The Riptide going to have to be immune by the beads. Does not feel good to use it on that. In fact, the beads in response to the charge break. King Pop Pop gets put down. Vi right after as they vie for the last dregs of damage. Paul does go down, Sunprod to the back line, but we don't even care what you decide to do. We got our eyes on the Titan. No, they want the deicide. Dear God in heaven, that one was personal. Clocked In, take him down and take grand finals.
And Speak No Evil looks at the rest of Holy Ghost and says, yeah, my new man's pretty good. He's all right. He's not too shabby at all, right? And then, you got a little bit of relationship envy over here, like, oh, can't you look like her, King Bop Bop? And Bop Bop's like, oh, you just said I was everything you ever wanted and needed in life. We're going to do this right now at a dinner in front of her. It's all kinds of tea and drama over here in Smite Prime.
Dude, you see the Magi's cloak that she's wearing? She looks good in that. Like, why don't you ever wear stuff like that?
That's not what I want to hear.
I got this from Kohl's. I got this from Old Navy, all right? This is a nice shirt. Like, I thought you liked this. Oh, man. It really is. It's a telenovela that we've got going on here, and it is all sorts of juicy. We are going to be there to wring out all the drama and facts for you in just a little bit, so don't go anywhere. The Smite Prime recap of Grand Finals after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime, where the plays certainly were premium. We just got to watch Grand Finals take place, and unfortunately, our friends on Glost were erased. It's a 2-0 sweep. It's D-Lo on the mic, Musey right here beside me in the booth, Tess and Mort are almighty eyes in the sky, Jithams and basically Billy right behind the curtain watching in horror. As unfortunately, sometimes the rebound's exactly that, a rebound.
I mean, it was well fought by the Holy Ghost, but Clocked In was just looking so good today. The coordination was there, the team play was there, and it just was really hard to shut down either Tagveer or Paul, and especially Speak No Goated. We gotta talk about this Umoja. The damage she did, the CC she offered, the ire that she attracted. Holy Ghost put so much in just to kill them, and it bit them in the butt every single time.
And you just have Paul. Like, there's so many threats to worry about, whereas I feel like Glost a little bit. Who do you see pop off on Glost? Sunprod. I don't really. Kaiveka as well, I will say. John Rowling had that one amazing Bacchus game, but I feel like Clocked In more consistently spread the threats around. Sometimes it's a Tagveer game. Almost every game, it's a Paul game. And Speak No Evil now grants you another avenue of domination in the dual lane. So no matter where you look on the map, there's always someone who has potential to be a massive threat in a late game, and that really forces Sunprod to crane his neck and kind of have a bit of whiplash even. Where do I direct my attentions to? It seems like wherever I'm not, they are.
Clocked In is just starting to form into one of those teams that look good every time they're on screen. Which to me is very exciting in the grander picture of pro Smite as we see it, to see another team that just looks so incredibly clean. I'm excited to see just how far the limit Clocked In is able to push it, but I don't think this is the end for Holy Ghost. I think they just need to start to kind of recheck in with themselves, find that identity again, find what comps work, right? Because the Scylla didn't pan out in both games in either position. We didn't really have a chance to see Kaiveka get too crazy with anything they were doing. Sunprod never had a chance to get off the field, into the sky rather. So just hitting the books again, maybe getting a couple more scrims in. If there were ever a time to really lock it in, it's got to be right now.
I'm going to call it right now. If Clocked In win this circuit, Speak No Evil's going to get that MVP.
It's got to be Speak
That's
No
my
Evil.
call.
Yeah.
I'm calling this already from here. The babe is calling a shot. I'm pointing my bat at the Raptors in the stadium. Speak No Evil, I think, got sick of Sunprod getting all the attention, said, I'm the reason they're succeeding, and I'll show you exactly how. They ditch the team. They say, good luck to you. Get whoever you want. King of Dust and Bones, more like, as Speak No
Mm-hmm.
Evil just continues to play just as excellently as they did in the last month. Bracket coming at you here just so you can see the path of destruction that Clocked In have carved throughout this week 2. It's looking to be a beautiful month as a Clocked In fan. Paul, Speak No Evil, they're just better.
True. You got to put all those names in the same sentence here. It looks like in the third place match, Cherry Slush came out on top over Wake Up. So they will continuously, didn't have their chance on the big screen today, but they were still looking pretty good towards the end there. And I think this definitely tells a story of Clocked In supremacy, number 1 seeded, and they will just keep that momentum going.
At the very least, getting all the way up here is really important for the seeding, right? Father, Son, and Holy Ghost were 11th seed. Now they made it to second place. That's actually really important to make sure you don't see an amazing team swept aside before we even get to closed bracket. That would truly be a tragedy. So this is definitely important for the numbers games. But for the mentals game, I think this was actually a pretty rough one for you. I think it proves a bit the question that I'm sure was on their lips, was in their minds of, okay, are we still the same team without Speak No Evil? I think the identity has changed drastically. And just from the picks and bans, Musi, you could see that fact, right? I think that you were just putting way too much in on a Scylla pick who is not meta relevant and wasn't made to look as such even when you operated on her.
But we do get a chance to talk about some of the other teams. I think Cherry Slush still showing us why they have been dominant for the entirety of their time here in Smite Prime. Baile Inolvidable still looking pretty good, even though we didn't get a chance to see them go as crazy as we're used to. I think Oath showing up was really cool. Golden, Rongyu, Drakor, Baneri, the classic mainstays there, still looking really solid as well. So that'll be very interesting to see how well they can perform during closed bracket, but just didn't have the chops to stand up to the Cherry Slush team.
I feel like there's the front runners. You have Cherry Slush, you have Glost, which I'm sure they're going to become that shortly, Clocked In, and you have this middle group. It's very interesting. It's Baile Inolvidable, it's the Smite 2 bad boys, and it might be Wake Up as well, even if we weren't actually able to see them do much more than just fall asleep at the wheel. I think that as the 4th seed, I'm sure they have a claim to that fame and to that top spot. If they can get a big upset, it's like what we saw with Kibbeted Book last month. Then we can start to reevaluate the narrative. Then we can start to change the numbers and change the pecking order here. But so far, I think today was a pretty regular day in terms of the established narratives of where these teams are in relation to each other.
So we're back to kind of wondering, will the bridesmaids ever become the brides?
Yeah.
And is Holy Glost going to have their fall from grace? Because I'm right there with you. I think without Speak No Evil, the team definitely has to try to reevaluate who they are as a team. What kind of plays are they looking for? What kind of team fights are they trying to have? Because that changes a lot when you lose that foundation. You're trying to build a new house at that point.
It's like Theseus's ship. If you change every wood panel one at a time, is it still Theseus's ship? You change one panel, is it even still the same vessel? Right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Maybe just completely reset what your game plan is and recognize that this support plays differently. It's not even like King Bap Bap is a flat downgrade necessarily. That first game was direct proof that King Bap Bap
They can hang with the big
carry.
dogs.
They can do exactly what you want it to. We saw with that Ares, but is it the pick that defines the player, or is the player that will establish their own identity? I hope it's the latter, because when we got to see them play at their most comfortable picks, it didn't really impress. And we're seeing it right here. Off the back end, this Scylla, either on mid or support, just did not do it for me. And I think it's a shame that we didn't get to see them go back to traditional. That kind of stinks to say, but sometimes comfort's not the answer.
Sometimes you just got to play what's good, and I'll tell you what's good. Yamoja, Speak No Evil, Ullr with Paul. Tagvir Susano went actually insane today, to such a degree that it had to be forced out as a ban so that nobody was allowed to have it. So many good characters to be had in the meta right now, where it's always just a game of, what am I willing to give up? What am I willing to keep for myself?
And with next week coming up soon, Yanis maybe is an interesting option to change things up. And the prizing is also going to be an interesting point to talk about. It seems like Clocked In really want to wrap their hands around that top cash prize, 7K, up for dispute, 125,000 diamonds as well. It's worth noting, again, that finals was a rehash of what we saw in the Grands last month. Clocked In want to make sure they change the story, rewrite the textbooks. They're going for it all.
That prizing is going to be up for grabs for whoever can stand among and above everybody else inside that closed bracket. But got a little bit more time before we can really get our eyes and our hands on that. But I'm curious to see who will be the ones to take the first crack at it.
It's an interesting question with still plenty of time for players to kind of put their hand on the steering wheel and say, we've got a claim to it. Again, that middle pack, keep an eye on those teams. Don't write them off, because always there is the case where someone who is claimed to be an unknown, like Sunprod, Globe, and the rest of the gang, suddenly are the results of your own doom. But that being said, that is all we're going to have for you here today on Smite Prime August Circuit Week 2. I've been D'Lo, joined here by Musi in the booth. We've had Tess and Morton, man, almighty eyes in the sky, keeping the cam lights on, and of course, the camera steady. Please make sure to thank our production for all they do. We cannot yell at games without them. Jithens and basically Billy as well. The men behind the curtain, keeping the social media active, as well as this entire tournament running smooth. Thank them for their efforts as well. And last, but certainly not least, thank you, loyal, obedient viewer, for your time. We hope you've enjoyed these games just as much as we have. Keep an eye to the sky for more Smite Prime content coming at you, as well as the next Smite Game streamer up on tap. Until then, good games and good night.